why these people were not pleased. The night before, the chickens were possessed. Many died from disease. Yard fall into small, but can't stop me at all. I raise me own cup, I raise me own full cup. People vex as hell, cause the chicken had a foul smell. I raise me own cup, I raise me own full cup. I don't know who is right or wrong, but I heard instructions were sent down. Don't mind it then, cut off the head, send it to the store. The people won't know if this is true. Oh, what a big sin. I heard they were plucking their chicken. Why no? People calling this lady's name. That is one thing I cannot understand. The whole country say she is to blame, but the female could never be around. That chicken is a serious thing. We must not take this thing as a joke. Please tell me where she comes from to ram that chicken down my throat. Yard fall into small, but can't stop me at all. I raise me own cup, I raise me own foul cup. People vex as hell, cause the chicken had a
Yes, something is playing.
me own cup, I raise me own foul cup. I don't know who is right or wrong, but I heard instructions
Good night, Barbados. Good night, Caribbean. Good night, the world. If you're joining us, you are watching the Marcia Week Show, and we're coming to you live from Barbados. And I'm holding in my hand the national flag of Barbados. And tonight, we are celebrating the pride of nationhood. We are celebrating the pride of nationhood. What is the pride of nationhood? The pride of nationhood is that we are able to come together as one and accomplish something great on behalf of our country. And we came together as one, and we're seeing it. It's happening, but we still have to wait to hear what is going to be said at 7:30 tonight. But from all accounts, it seems like we were able to pull one of those things down. You know, once again, it's not the first time. It's not the first time. And I'm speaking to the 280,000 people in Barbados, the loyal opposition. I'm speaking to you tonight, and we're going to go into that a bit more. But let me just welcome everybody who is joining. We are talking about the pride of nationhood. Esther Blue, are you proud to be a Bajan tonight? Judy Jilks, good night, Judy. You were at the march yesterday. Monica Ince was at the march. Were you at the march? I'm not sure. Bajan boy. Good evening. Heathcliff, good evening. Shannon, good evening. Lucinda, I saw you, Lucinda. I'm sure I saw you. Cedric Strawn, I know Lucinda was there. Mildred Ben, good evening. Teroni, you were there, Teroni. Lori Bob, good evening. Bonnie Springer, good evening. Who is that holding the flag? Who is holding the flag? Isn't that Judy? Judy Jilks? I think that's her holding the flag. Yes, wonderful. Shirley, good evening. Queen D, thank you, Queen D. I like the sound of that. You've liked and shared. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Tony Paris, good evening. Good evening. He says, good night, loyal sons and daughters. This is the pride of nationhood. Yes, yes, yes. Sonny, good night, Sonny. I saw you there, Sonny. I saw you there, Sonny. Yes, yes. Diana Husbands, Beverly Prescott, Mavis Lashley, Tim T. Ward. Yes, welcome, welcome, folks. Sharon Innes. If you're proud to be a Bajan, let me see hand. Let me see hand. But give me some thumbs up. If you're proud to be a Bajan, let me see hand. Let me see the hands in the thumbs up, man. Let's see thumbs up. Tony said he wasn't able to. Well, Tony, you can make it on Saturday. We're going out on Saturday. Saturday, we are hitting the streets. Saturday, 10 o'clock. Cammy, good evening. Andrew Broom, good evening. Yes, Jacqueline, Aline, I know. I think I saw Jacqueline. You were there. You were there. We're going to show you. We're going to show you a clip. I think we have two clips. Just greeting everybody. Izzy, good evening. Tyrone, good evening. Good evening. Justin, how are you doing? And Malin. Sir Dale Worrell, how are you, Dale Worrell? God's own child, good evening. King's daughter, Callie B from the UK, good evening. Wayne, good evening. Oh my goodness. Joy and Faith, good evening. Pauline Maynard, good evening. So Brett, good evening. Izzy, good evening. Tyrone Blackman, good evening. Yes, yes, yes. If you're proud to be a Bajan, put up your hand. Put up your hand. Put up your hand. Yes, let's see the hands. Let's see the hands. Listen, we are dealing tonight with the pride of nationhood. Go ahead, Dave, and play a clip from yesterday. Thank you. I hear music and I start.
Spot the light and see who is looking out for you. We just heard the current Prime Minister and Leader of the Opposition.
That is one of the clips, and the song that was really we love to hear that song on the road is Spot the Light, because we recognize they want to spot the light in our bedrooms, in our phones, in our emails, and don't want to spot the light on themselves, right? So we love that song up there. Yes. So that's the first clip. I just want to, while Dave set up the second clip, I want to take this opportunity to thank every single one of you for braving it and for being out there in the hot sun. We had lots of you had your umbrellas. We were out there. We made sure, we always make sure you have cold water. You had your water, and we got down the road. And I just want to commend every single one of you for what you did on Saturday. Amazing. And those of you who brought donations, those, even if you didn't bring a donation, we say thank you. Those who were not in the march, but you were watching from the side, and you gave me a little wink or a thumbs up, or you shook your head. Yes. Or those of you who came out of a store, you're working and you came and gave donations. Yes, you let them know that's how we take care of business. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. It's the people of Barbados. Dave, we'll go ahead with this clip.
This bill seeks to give the law authorities the right to intercept and tap your systems, your phones, everything to do with you. However, practically, this bill gives unfettered control to law enforcement without a prior warrant. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not something that you can ignore. This is something that you must pay attention to. Why are we saying this? If a member of parliament has admitted to the fact that wiretapping has gone on in this country for years now, what he has in essence done is admitted to the fact that law enforcement have been illegally accessing your information. I challenge attorneys at law that if you have been representing someone who is currently in jail because of wiretapping, you now have a right to appeal that case because the information was obtained illegally. The only time that becomes necessary is in a state of national emergency or a matter of national security. Since when a child in St. Andrew, Dunban School, chatting with their friends is a matter of national security? That just goes to show you that rather than coming to the country with a law that is in the benefit of the people of Barbados, it continues to be in the benefit of political expediency.
Yes, those were two clips. Yes, Judy. Oh, it was a wonderful experience. The loyal opposition, I mean, they were ready. They were fired up. The people came fired up. They came with their umbrellas. Don't mind the sun. It's just a matter of preparing for the sun. You wear the right colors, right? Wear the right colors. Be prepared for the sun. It is hot, and you make sure you're hydrated. And so we had all that we needed, And we thank God. We always have our prayers before we start. And we thank God that there was nobody who got sick on the way or any such thing. And we've gotten so accustomed to that walk now. It's so easy now. It's easy. It's not a long walk at all. And you know what was great? We were able to talk to the people in the market. We talked to the people on the street. We talked to tourists. There was a group of tourists from Spain, and they stopped and they were taking videos on their phones, and we made sure we explained to them exactly what was happening. And they were very upset about it, and they said that could not happen in Spain. But we made sure, and we said take it back and tell the people in Spain what is happening here. Right? Because all that you see here, all that glitters is not gold. Yes? Yes. Tanisha said the sun was hot, but we did it for those who were... Tanisha, why are you still like that? Tanisha said we did it for those who were hiding under the bed. Listen, there are people, I'm telling you, I saw people who came out of stores to give me donations on the truck. There were people in stores giving you thumbs up. There are people right there at Cave Shepherd on the street, who are not able to join because of their jobs. So we're not going to listen. We're not going to put each other down. Okay. I know that we need lots more people to come out on Saturday at 10 o'clock. We are going back on the street. We're not going to stop. There are so many issues that we need to deal with in this country. And when we are still planning a march, we're not going to because they said that they are going to be speaking at 7:30 tonight. That means that we're not going to plan our march. We're not stopping. We are planning. We are moving ahead. We are moving ahead. And this is exactly what we did with the cybercrime bill. You remember that when they said, oh, they're going to fix the cybercrime bill, etc. We never stopped marching. You remember that? We never stopped marching. We kept going. Right? We kept going. We made sure that we kept going. And, let me just make sure this is not coming through. Yeah, we kept going, and that's what we're doing. We're what we do, it's not going to be contingent on because sometimes they say they're going to fix something, they're going to amend, and then when you hear the amendment, it's nothing to be excited about. It's nothing of what we wanted. So what we want to do is to make sure that it is what we want. And let me tell you something. You see how fast this meeting came? This press conference came? You see how fast it came? Anybody can tell me what it is that they really are afraid of. Anybody? While you think of that, I want to be very analytical about it. Analyze the situation. Let me just say this has been a collaborative effort. It is a collaborative effort by the leader of the opposition, by Mr. Corey GREENIDGE, who is a member of the DLP. And through the DLP TV was the first time that we heard there were objections to it being said. That's true. We had, there was one particular lawyer who was saying stuff before. And I remember I had reached out to him to see if he would come on the show. But when you're talking about a breakdown of what the issues were in the bill, occurred on the DLP TV, and the lawyer, there's a lawyer that we call him Pilly, is Pilly the Kid. Dave, what is his real name? I can't even repeat, please. Andrew Pilgrim, thank you, Andrew Pilgrim. I remember reaching out to Andrew Pilgrim, Mr. Andrew Pilgrim. I reached out to him about 3 weeks ago to ask him to come on to the show to talk about this because we knew it was coming. And but he was overseas, and then when he got back, he was very busy. And I didn't get him after that. I did try after that, didn't get him. So I was very, very excited to see a lawyer on the DLP TV, breaking this thing down for the people in a way that the people could understand. And so we reached out to him, and I will always thank God for Mr. Ralph Thorne, who is the leader of the opposition and the political leader of the DLP, for having the foresight and the insight to have that kind of discussion on the DLP TV. And so with that, we invited Mr. Corey GREENIDGE to come on to the program, and he came on and broke it down even further. And that's what we do. It's a collaborative effort, and with that, I heard Lynette Eastman, who's a lawyer. She gave an interview on Starcom as well. Plus, we had Mr. Why am I forgetting all these names tonight? So, do you remember there's a Wendell? And he did a lot of posting on Facebook. Do you remember the former journalist? He was very instrumental in this as well. And the reason I am mentioning all these people, can somebody? Yes, Mr. Andrew Pilgrim. And if I had my phone, but yes, thank you. This gentleman. Oh, Dave, thank you. You're the best. And what's his name, Dave? Wade Gibbons. Mr. Wade Gibbons, wherever you are, you need to take a bow as well. Mr. Wade Gibbons, wherever you are in Barbados, somebody run and call him. Take a bow. This is about Barbados. This is about, we want to thank everybody. We want to thank you, the ones who wrote to your senators. Who are the ones who wrote to the senators? Who are the ones who wrote to the MPs? We thank Mr. Thorne for speaking up in Parliament, and we were outside and we were able to echo him. And how did you echo him? People went and they wrote their senators, right? They wrote senators, they wrote MPs, right? The loyal opposition planned a march, a protest march. We brought all those young men. Do you remember the night we had last Monday? We had all those young men on. Let me tell you, I know they were afraid of that show. That show with Don Leacock on and Zico, you remember that? And those young people were just speaking as clear as day. They weren't having any of it. And I told you one of them, his phone was, his Facebook was hacked by the next morning. Yes? So listen, so what we're saying is that this is a collaboration. And I love the fact that the young people got involved on that particular show, used their social media pages, and they were pushing this thing out. So I want to say, all the young people, take a bow. All the seniors, take a bow. Those who use your Facebook pages and you quarrel with the yard fowls, who said nothing was wrong with the bill. You remember that? Do you remember those on Facebook saying there was nothing wrong with the bill? Who remember that? They said nothing was wrong with the bill. So what is this all about? Why does it need to be amended? Yes, these wonderful young people. Theory Gittins, Daniel Boyce, they lent their voices to this as well. Janine Butcher, Brandon Blackman. Yeah. And we also want to remember those from outside of Barbados. Who can forget St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who came to our aid with that, did several broadcasts on that issue. And I see him in the studio. He's getting ready to join me just for a little 15 minutes, in 2 minutes. Ernesto Cook is going to be with us here. But what am I saying to us, Barbados? We're talking about the pride of nationhood. The pride of nationhood is when the citizens can come together to accomplish something wonderful on behalf of the country, of their country. We came together, patriotic Barbados came together underneath the flag of Barbados to celebrate something so beautiful, to do something so beautiful. And that is the pride of nationhood. And of course, we could not without God Almighty. Yeah. Yes. All of those who lend their voices, Mr. Greenidge, Mr. Thorne, everybody, those who wrote to the MPs, those who wrote to the senators, all of those things matter. And we did it as a team together. Okay. Very important that we remember that. All right. So let me welcome Mr. Ernesto Cook into the studio. Welcome, Ernesto.
Hey, Marcia, good night. Good night. I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, I'm hearing you
Okay.
well. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Yes. Sorry I can't be with you too long tonight, but it's good to at least see you smiling again the way you usually smile. Means that something good is happening.
Yes,
So I'm happy for that. Happy for
But
that.
I asked you to come on tonight because
Yeah.
I have to say, that you provided such support for the people in Barbados
Yes.
with this issue. Not just in hosting me on the show, allowing me to take over your show when mine, when mine was hacked, but you before I did that, you actually had done a whole presentation, you produced, it's about 10 minutes or so, I think, or
Yeah.
10-15 minutes on the whole issue. And what that did is that it strengthened the Barbadians and
Wow.
gave them a lot of courage. And so I want to say to you from across the water, our brothers and sisters there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we have to keep pushing on with one another. We have to keep strengthening one another. That's how we do. That's how we make it. When we look back, we think about moving from the coast of Africa in those ships and those trains, and we come all the way over to the islands. And it wasn't until all of the folks decided one day that we're going to lead a rebellion because we've had enough of this foolishness. That is how it all ended, really. We just decided that we had to stick together and end the rebellion. And that is how that's how 1834 and 33 came about. We just decided we had to end the rebellion. We just had to end all this nonsense. And so, everything ended. So it's what you call, I really don't like to hear people saying, we can't do this or we can't do that. I understand that there are systems and there are systems that are bigger than us. We understand that. We know that. But sometimes we have to remember that we are the ones that allow certain people to be in the position that they're in today. Without our vote every 5 years or every 4 years, some persons will not be in the position they are in. So until we have that mindset to know that we are the ones that are giving them this thing that we call power, right? Until we realize that we are the ones that are handing out this thing to them that we call power, and every 4 or 5 years they come back to us to ask for a job. Until we remember that, we are lost people. And it appears to me that just after the elections are finished, people forget that they're the ones that really hand out this thing to these people. I don't know why people keep forgetting this thing. I just can't understand why. That is my major problem. But like I said, when we keep saying we can't do anything, well, their government, their opposition, they're this, they're that, we can't do anything. What are we going to do? Just sit down and accept it? No. We can push back. We can talk, we can air our opinions, our views, we can hold our protests, we can hold our peaceful marches. We don't go in any city square and advocate for the death of anybody. We don't advocate for like they used to do in the US at one time, the lynching of anybody. We don't advocate for those things. We go peacefully, we march, we put up our placards, we send our messages, and they heard it loud and clear. And now they have to respond to it. That's all you need to do.
That's
Nothing,
it.
nothing
That's
else.
it. And you know, you spoke about the 1800s, 1834. Some people were 1838, etc.
Yeah, yep.
But in that period of time, we saw you know, slavery being abolished in our region. You
Exactly.
know, and then when you look in the 30s, the 1930s, we had you had some riots in St. Vincent. There were riots in Trinidad, riots in Barbados. In Barbados specifically was 1937.
Yep.
But all of those were about labor conditions. And
That's right.
once one island started, all the other islands, you know, it just kind of had a ripple effect. And so this is what is about to hit us in terms of this mass surveillance of people.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have to come together, right, Ernesto?
Absolutely come together. And if we don't, we're just, I don't know. I just can't be around people who have I can't do it attitude. We can't do anything. I can't take the we can't do anything. I just can't handle that. I get tired and I just move. I move aside. I go somewhere else where I think I'm needed. I can't handle the we can't do anything. Listen to me. History actually has shown, the history of St. Vincent, I'm in the Caribbean, has shown that St. Vincent actually spent the shortest period in slavery. Actually, among all the islands, we had the shortest period when it came to slavery.
In St. Vincent.
And that's right. And I'll tell you something a lot of people don't know. When they come to St. Vincent, or if they go to any other island that has a fort, and I'm talking about these things that the British used to use to defend the ships coming from the sea.
Yes.
If you go to any other island in the Caribbean, you'll notice all of the forts that they have, their guns are turned to sea. If you come to St. Vincent, they're turned inland. That's because Vincentians were the most rebellious people. That's why they lived the shortest in slavery during that period. Yeah, that's you had Chateaubriand, you had Duval, you had a lot of different people. They were so meaning that they were not going to live in this slavery thing, and that this was their land. That the guns were never pointed at sea to defend the British crown. They were turned inland on the people because the people was so defiant of these things that were happening against them. So this is something that a lot of people need to learn. When I saw it, when I went to the fort the first time and I saw it, I said, "Oh wait, how come the guns are turned inland and not out to sea?"
Right.
And the guy who was at the fort said to me, "You know, you're the first person who came here and actually asked that question. I've been here for 15 years working at this, and nobody ever asked me the question, why?" I said, "No, but this is strange. It's supposed to be at the sea, not in land." And then, you know, he went into the whole little story about why they had point. And then I went into reading the books to find out, well, really what actually took place. And that was exactly why it took place. People were very defiant and they were rebellious. They want to have none of it. So that's a story alone for people to wake up and realize that they have the powers in their hands. You give politician a job every 4 and 5 years, and they come back to you and they ask for another chance. And without you, they have nothing to get. They have to go look for work somewhere else. But it seems as if after the elections, everybody forget that they're the actually ones who place them in a job. I don't know why people forget, but that's just sad. But Marcus Garvey always had a thing. He said, if you don't have confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. That's what he said.
Say that again, because today is Marcus Garvey's birthday.
Yeah, today's Marcus
Garvey. A lot of
Garvey.
people forget that Marcus Garvey came from the Caribbean, you know.
Yeah,
came from the Caribbean, and one of the greatest Pan-Africanists that ever lived is Marcus Garvey. Today is his birthday, a Caribbean man from Jamaica. But say that again, please.
That's right. Garvey said, if you do not have or have not confidence in yourself or in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. And when it came to the issue of self-reliance and action, he had said one time that chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people. Not chance, chance. Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people. He said action, self-reliance, the vision of self, and the future have been the only means by which the oppressed have seen and realized the light of their own freedom. What did he mean by that? He actually was emphasizing the power of individual and the collective action of individuals
Yes.
in achieving liberation.
Wow,
People
I
need to-
love that. The
people-
collective action
Yeah.
of the people in achieving liberation. And that is what we're seeing. I think there's a light bulb going off in Barbados, going
Yeah.
off in the minds of the people in Barbados and throughout the region. Now, you and I know you have to go, you have a family,
Yeah,
you know, and I'm not going to keep you away from your family event. You have 5 more minutes with us. But we want to tell the people something that we are going to be doing on Thursday. You know, there's something called the link, right? We're going to have this link up called the link, dealing with Caribbean issues. Why is that important? It's Thursdays, 1 o'clock. Why should people tune in at that lunchtime?
Well, you know, the midday hour is a time when people go to lunch. You know, some people use it for reflection time. Some people use it for meditation time. A lot of different things happen at the midday hour, whether it be in the midnight or the midday itself. But I want people to join us this Thursday. We will be discussing a lot of issues that are affecting Caribbean people. I think we'll have our good brother from the Bahamas along with us.
Yes, Cassius Stewart. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Looking forward to having him on the show as well, and yourself. And I think it's going to be a good experience for all of our people to share ideas on how we can progress, how we can push forward.
yes.
You know, at a time when everybody is saying, well, you know, we live in a time now where the global situation is really terrible. It is terrible, and for small islands, it's getting even worse. And we are seeing a lot of our leaders becoming tyrants, so to speak. It's almost as if, you know, they're just following the script that was handed down to them, and they're trying to just subvert the will of the people.
Yeah,
all the time. And that's why at one point in time, someone had said to me, and I learned it a long time ago, that democracy, they had said to me, democracy is not real. That's what they had said to me, basically. And then I met another gentleman who said to me, democracy is just a way of letting us choose our own dictators. That's what he said to me. I kind of figured after a while, it seemed that he had a point. I mean, you know, this was somebody who didn't even went to university or college and stuff like that. Just an ordinary man on the street. You know, it sounded crazy at the time, but really and truly, I mean, if you look at what is happening, sometimes you really want to believe that it's just a way of us choosing our own dictators the way they behave.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know, sometimes you have to ask yourself these things, and you know, but you can learn a lot from the average man. Take it from me, you can learn a lot from the average man.
Definitely. And you know, I'm looking forward to to Thursday, because this is something, you know, when I spoke to you about it, is something that you had in your mind as well, right?
Yeah.
And we actually have a flyer of it, Dave. If you can check your WhatsApp and just put it up on the screen, that would be great. Dave, check your WhatsApp. But I think it would be great because Cassius, when you think of Cassius Stewart, some of our viewers would remember Cassius Stewart when we were dealing with, you know, the LGBTQ agenda in the schools. Oh, he was one of the loudest voices in the Caribbean region, you know. And yes, I mean, and he's a businessman. And but he took on that and really made a he even came to Barbados. I don't know if anybody remember that he came to Barbados, and so he's going to be with us. It's called The Link. Is African Caribbean Power Hour. How many of you interested in something like this? Breaking news and underreported stories. Okay, we are breaking news and we're talking about these underreported stories. What's happening in Haiti? You know, we're going to talk about that. Politics, economics, and cultural power shifts, youth, justice, and the fight for sovereignty, exposing corruption and uplifting grassroots voices, Pan-African unity and renewal. All of this is going to be happening every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Let me see by the thumbs up. How many of you interested in this? Thursdays at 1. You know, we had come on like about 3 weeks ago, and we just and people said that they were interested. And by the way, we need to let them know that it will be both on both of our channels.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it will be there for everyone. Everyone will have their chance to get the information and make their voices heard. Send your comments, questions, whatever you want to, and let's discuss it. It's about time that we really have a discussion of a difference, in the Caribbean, because there's a lot of stuff that is happening, and I would tell people all the time. It appears that if you listen to a lot of Caribbean people, they know more of what is happening in Europe and America than what is happening right in their own country.
Correct.
It's a sad state, but it is what it is. It is a very sad state, but it is what it is. And one of the reasons for that is because the islands have shifted away from producing their own content, local content that fits their own domain, and they have taken up the American culture. All of the television is from North America. I said to a lot of people, from the time cable landed in the Caribbean, that was the end of Caribbean, really. The cable landed and that was it. That was the end of it. And we don't produce anything that is really unique Caribbean anymore, really. We don't see it, at least even if we do it, we may see it on an independent something where they have a parade and somebody do some cultural thing. But outside of these things, on your television, you don't see any programming really of a Caribbean nature anymore. You see a lot of foreign programs taken up. And then outside of that, you notice that people really don't have much time with the television either anymore. So they turn to the internet. And then when you go on the internet, all you would find is the young people, they're into the the TikTok, and they're into the YouTube, and they're probably on the Facebook. But even with that, you don't see them trying to produce anything Caribbean, really. Everybody wants to sound like somebody from New York and somewhere down in Florida or in Alabama. I mean, I don't know what is the reason for it, but everybody wants to sound like an American, and they go on TikTok and they're from Barbados and they're from Trinidad, but they want to sound as if they're from Alabama. I don't know what is the reason for it, really, but that is just the way it is. So we really don't have anything really Caribbean or unique anymore. People just, So this program is a good way to revitalize that whole discussion on the issues that are really affecting us as a people in the region. And the good thing about it is that I don't like to be on programs where we are just talking away and telling people. I like to hear people interact, because I always say the average man out there knows sometimes. I think they know more than you and I who host programs. I don't know how I view. And so we might come with a topic, but when you hear what they bring, you'll be amazed. And some of the things that they can encourage you. And when you look at them, you can say, well, wait, I never thought of it that way. We could really have something good for society just coming out of this alone. So the program, I want to encourage the listeners, those who will be viewing it, come with your questions, come with your ideas, come to interact. You understand? So don't make it an hour of me, Marcia, and Cassius just talking. No, you come and bring your own thing too. Bring it, listen and share your ideas, so that just know that we could do it ourselves too. We can actually rewrite some of the nonsense that is going on in this place here. So look forward for Thursday, 1 p.m. and hopefully we can have it every Thursday until I don't know when, but as long as the good Lord give us health and strength and we could make it, of course we'll come and do what we have to do. But
yes,
this
most
Thursday,
definitely.
yeah, we'll try and kick it off this Thursday and see what
what
see
happened.
where
And from
everybody was.
time to time, we're going to have some other guests from the Caribbean region coming on, depending on what it is that we're talking about. Because sometimes with these nightly shows, there's so much happening in Barbados because they have chosen Barbados as the testing ground for the region. So we are battling so much in Barbados that we don't get to focus on Haiti. Look at Guyana. Look at the election that is happening in Guyana at the moment, and the possible, I mean, when you listen on the ground, speak to people there, it's almost like there's going to be a race riot going on there, depending on who wins that election. So there's so much happening. There's no election that is going to happen in Jamaica on I think September 4th. Guyana is September 1st, and then we look at Dominica. There's a lot going on, and we need to be able to find a place where we do that link. And the place is here. Thursdays 1:00 that we come together and we talk about it and try to solve some of our problems together.
That's
well,
right.
Ernesto,
That's
I
right.
know I will give you your final comments before your family come and
Yeah,
get me.
yeah, well, like I said, Thursday we look forward to having everybody join the program. See how much time you can spend, whether 5, 10, or 15 minutes, doesn't matter. See what you can do to come and just be a part of it and bring your ideas and share your comments. Let's see what's going on in your neck of the woods. I think Haiti is a very interesting place right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of things happening in Haiti. I see that they have put a bounty on Barbecue's head, so they wish to have him removed from there now too as well. Barbecue, it's very interesting because while it appears that he was creating havoc on one end, on the other end, it seemed like he had brought some stability to war infractions. So it's a very interesting story with Barbecue. And I usually say sometimes to end some of these problems that you're having, you may see people as the enemy, but sometimes you have to sit down with them and try to let them be a part of the solution. Because if you try to exit them out of that, then you're gonna have a far greater problem. Because they have a lot of say, whether you like it or not. They do have say, and so that is a problem with Haiti by itself. But of course, the people who tell you that they know how to solve all these issues will tell you, no, just get rid of him completely. I don't want him around here. But that's another thing for itself. I know. I mean, some people just say, let me just leave Haiti there, right there. But anyway, Guyana, another situation. It's going to be a very dangerous election. I can see it. I listen to all the reports. I'm seeing it. I just hope that they don't have anything untoward. I see Jamaica is coming up. I see some people already behaving like clowns in Jamaica. And then you have Dominica coming up next. And then following that, you have St. Vincent coming up before the end of the year. And a lot of them, a lot of people be looking.
Right, I forgot about St. Vincent is coming up before the end of the year.
A lot of people are jockeying for power this year because this year means that 2030 agenda has to be fulfilled. And if certain people are not in power, it's going to be a disruption to the 2030 agenda. So it's so many things you have to battle with this year. A lot of things you have to battle with this year. But we're just hoping that everything will go good and that we won't have too much upheaval in the Caribbean after these elections. I think it's always been, it's been peaceful for the amount of years we have in elections. Let's hope that we continue in that manner, really.
Yes.
Thanks for being here tonight, and we will catch you another time for sure. And you enjoy the rest of your program.
Yes, and I want to publicly thank you for your support of this broadcast, of myself, my family, and everybody. We really appreciate it. From one what do you call us, podcasters, hosts, whatever all these names.
Yeah.
I want to personally say, sir, thank you. You did for me what I do for other people, and it really touched Dave and I, and we want to say thank you.
All right, no problem much. Anytime.
Yes, God bless.
All right,
Yes.
take care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye. Oh, wow. That was wonderful for Mr. Cook to come and join us for a little bit there. I think that is so wonderful. And, you know, as I was saying, guys, we have to understand the power of working together. The if I want to pick up this cup, right? Listen, I'm using all of my 5 fingers to do it. Yes, I could do it with one, but if the contents might fall out, you know, the cup might fall over. But if I put it together, you know, and I hold it firm together. And that is what is needed. All of us throughout the region, all of us coming together. Never think that your contribution is too small. I didn't lift up the cup with a little finger, right? I use all the little finger is weaker than all of the other fingers, but I use all the fingers together, right? And with my hand, the power of my hand and my brain, and we picked it up together. And that's what's happening in Barbados. That's what's happening in Barbados. And that's why I say, yes, unity is strength. And that's why I always say in Barbados, we find what we have in common and we work with it. Ask yourself, what is it that I have in common with this other person or these other people? Can we work together? Can we put those differences aside? And can we work with what we have in common? It doesn't mean that the other person you're working with is perfect. No. But you're going to find what you have in common and work with that other person. And that's what we're seeking to do with the link. That's what we're seeking to do with this show. You know, listen, there's so many people who are working behind the scenes, even for the protest. People come and they say, Marcy, I love those posters that you all put out. We put out something with called Fix the Spy Bill, and it had all these pages and little it's like a little video. The people who made that, people who did the graphic, people who narrated it, you know, people who wrote the narration. How about that? You know, the flyers, those beautiful posters, somebody sits and they do that, right? So it takes all of us working together. And so we can't just say it is one person. It's everybody coming together to make it happen. Yeah. And that is what we call the pride of nationhood. And I know some of you are wondering, correct, this particular one. Look how lovely this is. And then the voice. The voice is somebody in the diaspora. We were able to just send them the script and they did it. You know, the idea to produce it. It's a group of us. It's a group of us. Davis put out some wonderful videos as well. You know, and that's how I want us to look at it. Mr. Thorne is doing what he does in the parliament. You know, Mr. GREENIDGE is on the, you know, the DLP TV and on the Marcia Week show. And he's doing what he has to do as well. And we do it together. Mr. Wade Gibbons is using his Facebook posts to send out this message. He did an amazing job, Mr. Wade Gibbons. Yes? With all his articles and all of those things that he's put out. A lot of you have written to senators and you've written to MPs. And that is important as well. You have quarreled with people and stood up to them on Facebook and on Instagram, you know, when they're talking nonsense. And you came out of your house and dressed and walk on the street. How can we? I mean, we have to thank God for everybody and that powerful show by the young people. I tell you something. If I was a leader, seeing those 6 young people on that show, I know that is what really got them upset. They said, we got to stop this show. Those young people, let me tell you, they are something else. Yeah. And so it's all of us that work together. It's a together. It's a together. And I want us to keep that in our minds. Don't try to elevate. Don't try to find a leader. That's another thing that we do a lot. Don't try to find a leader. Don't try to find a rescuer. Don't try to find somebody that you think is going to come and rescue you. Huh? No, you are going to rescue yourself. You will rescue yourself. Don't we ever get back into that. And with that thinking, as we go into the next election, listen to me, loyal opposition, regardless of the party, regardless of who is vying, they're vying for all these offices and to become your MP and to become PM, whoever it is. And some people might get mad with me with this, but let me tell you something, loyal opposition. It is your X, and you determine where you put your X, regardless, BDPQ, whoever. And that is why I say with this show, yes, we work with the DLP because they're in opposition. Lynette Eastman used to be on the show, and Lynette spoke to Starcom as a lawyer. I was happy to hear her comments. We were trying to play it the other night. We didn't get to play it, but Lynette Eastman, she did speak out on this as well. And so, we commend everybody and we work with everybody in the opposition, but let me tell you something. Nobody gonna fool us again. None of you are. I believe we need to make a demand on these parties in opposition, all of these parties, and find out all of these bills that they're passing or trying to pass, who will repeal them? Huh? Are you going to repeal these bills? Are you going to make sure that that cybercrime bill never see the day of light again? Huh? Are you? We need to make a demand on all of them. Regardless of who it is, even if it's your friend. Barbadians, we should never, I want us to understand, never find ourselves in this place again. How many of you agree with me? How many of you agree that we should never find ourselves in this place again? Where we have we have no opposition. Mr. Thorne is there, and thankfully he had the foresight and he had the understanding, because you see, Mr. Thorne is a defender of people, and he was able to stand up in there and defend our rights. But can you imagine if we had even 13 more with Mr. Thorne? Even if they had 16 and the other parties had 14 persons in parliament, you understand how the delay in bills being passed and how difficult it would be for them to do these things. But you know what? We're looking for a savior. We're looking for a rescue. We're looking for the next leader. That's our problem. You are your own rescuer. Make a demand on every party, all of them. What is it you want to see in their manifesto? Not in there, don't vote for them. Do not vote for them. And I can tell you something, that we are not endorsing any party. This show, we stand on the side of the people of Barbados. We are standing on the side of the people of Barbados, and we are going to encourage what is best for Barbados. Very important. Yeah, exactly, Pedro. Exactly. So that's why I'm saying I want us to, we're not in a feel-good situation. I know a lot of people are listening to the PM, but we chose not to carry the PM on here. This is the people's, this is the people. And, you know, half of what she's saying there is a whole lot of deception. So we don't want that over here. We will get the summary, as we've always done. Huh? You know, so as Miss McCLEAN is getting ready to come in, right? We have Miss McCLEAN is getting ready to come in. So, but in that time, I want to give a little tribute to Marcus Garvey. Today is his birthday. Regardless of what you think about him, the man has accomplished quite a bit. And I want to say to us that, you know what, if we can honor the past and honor, stop for a moment and recognize what has occurred. Some people say, well, you know, these guys did nothing for us. Oh, we're still enslaved. Well, the truth is that we're not where our ancestors were. It's not perfect at all. It's not perfect, but we're not in the hot sun working and digging barefoot and working for nothing and you know, behind anybody. Yes, massa, no, ma'am, all of that. It's not perfect because a lot of us are enslaved, still enslaved mentally. I'm very aware of that. But I still want to honor what our ancestors did. I want to honor Marcus Garvey tonight. So today on August 17th, we pause to honor the life and work of the right excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, a man whose voice and vision still echo across oceans and generations. Marcus Garvey is not just a figure I read about. He's the foundation of my work, the anchor of my spirit. Tonight, I testify of the fire that still burns from his life to mine. Marcus Garvey has become, I would say, almost like fuel for my fight. A lot of people don't know I've studied a lot about Marcus Garvey. I call myself a child of Garvey, and don't, you know, you Christians say, oh, you're a child of God. You know what I mean. So don't even come with that. I'm talking about his philosophies. Not only because Marcus and Marcia share the same meaning. Did you know that? It means warlike. Warlike. But because his courage has birthed courage in me. What strengthens me is knowing that even Garvey had moments of weakness. Did you know that the first time he took to the stage, he froze in fright? And he stumbled and fell off the stage? But guess what? He rose again. He rose up. And when he rose up for all of us. Today, his voice still thunders across centuries, across continents, telling us to stand tall, to know who we are, and never bow our heads. Garvey was not a man of empty speeches, and he made many speeches. Even though his first speech, he was so had stage fright, and he froze and fell off the stage. But his speeches were not empty. He was a man of action. Marcus Garvey built businesses, people, newspapers, schools, factories. He was the first to build a factory that manufactured black dolls. A man from Jamaica, from the Caribbean. He taught us to stop waiting for rescue and to rescue ourselves. He gave our people pride when the world gave us shame. He gave us dignity when slavery and colonialism tried to chain us in worthlessness. And that's why in this neo-colonialist era, we must remember the work of Marcus Garvey and break free of those chains of neo-colonialism. He gave us the unshakable truth that we are mighty people destined for greatness. And tonight, I want us to feel the weight of that. Barbados, the Caribbean, those of you who are watching. We live presently in a time when our freedoms are under threat. We see that. Freedom of speech, privacy, under threat. When systems try to silence us, and when poverty and corruption weigh down on our people. But the truth is, if Marcus Garvey could rise from stumbling on a stage to building a movement that shook the world, so can we. Look at what has happened in Barbados. The cybercrime bill in the garbage, and the Prime Minister had to come out of her bed tonight, or wherever she was, to give a speech tonight, to quiet down the country, because the people decide to shake this country. And they haven't seen the shaking as yet. It's coming. Garvey told us, up, you mighty race. Accomplish what you will. Tonight I say, up, Barbados. Accomplish what you will. Up, 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 you mighty people of Barbados. Accomplish what you will. What you will. What you will. What is it you will for Barbados? Up, Barbados. Up, you mighty people. 280,000 of you. Up, you mighty people of Barbados. Up, you Caribbean. Up. If he was here, that's what he would be saying. Accomplish what you will. You're sitting down and waiting on somebody to will it for you. Will it for yourself. Will it for yourself. Will it. Believe in yourself. Have confidence. That is not just a quote from Marcus Garvey. It is a command to us, to me, to you. It is a fire that is being started on the inside of you. It is a call that demands action from all of us today. Up. Stand up. Stand up. You are mighty. You are mighty. When we lose our fear, when we lose our fear and we hit the streets, when we lose our fear like GREENIDGE, standing up and said, listen, I'm going to stick my neck out there. No other lawyer is doing. GREENIDGE is standing up and say, I'm going to stick my neck up there. That's what you call when we lose our fear, they lose their power. And she recognized what was going on and had to come and admit that. Guess what? You know what she's admitting? We lied to you. It is a call that demands action from us today. So as we honor his birthday, and I know Miss McCLEAN is going to come on and talk about Marcus Garvey as well, let us not leave here and just applauding him in our minds or, putting up thumbs up. Let us leave here. Let us, at the end of the show or, from my little speech tonight, let us leave here with a resolve. Let us live as Garvey lived. Bold Barbadians. Unafraid Barbadians. Unyielding Barbadians. Let our words line up with our deeds. Your typing line up with your marching. And let our lives be the answer to his prayer. A people who will rise, fight, and win. So tonight I say, happy birthday, Marcus Garvey. Your fire still burns in us. You remember when you came and you gave a speech right there in Queen's Park. Marcus Garvey, that spirit, right? Marcus Garvey, though dead, his ideals still live in us. And as long as his fire burns, no chain, no system, no government can ever keep us down. So I say, up, you mighty people. accomplish what you will. Good night, Miss McCLEAN.
Hello, good night to you and to all the members of the loyal opposition. And I was listening to you, and actually something happened there. I'm not sure what it was. As you were talking about Marcus Garvey, I didn't want to go on my computer. I didn't want to run the risk of cutting myself off. And I went on my tablet and I pulled up my certificate. You remember my certificate that I inherited from my grandfather, and it appeared on the screen. I don't know if I was trying to send it to myself, but no, I think that a lot of people, and there is, and I don't know how it got on the screen today, but there it was. and so you mighty lady, and this Marcia and members of the loyal opposition is a prized possession of mine. My grandfather, and if my father were alive, he would have been 100 and something years old, because my father was born in 1916. So that tells you something. This was a shared $5 back in, if Dave scrolled down a little further, sorry, Marcia, I am still amazed how I got it on here, because I was trying to send it. But anyway, this is 1921. On the 10th day of September 1921, this share certificate was issued to my grandfather. And so when you talk about Marcus Garvey, I never met my granddad. My grandfather, both my mother's father and my father's father, this is my paternal grandfather, were dead before he was born.
Mm-hmm.
But this told me something about David McCLEAN. He was a Pan-Africanist, and I believe he would have stood in the park to listen to Marcus Garvey when he spoke to Barbadians.
Mm-hmm.
And he was moved to do this. And every time I look at this, I am reminded that we in Barbados, the leaders and the Caribbean and Africa, because he was, if you look at the black star in the flag of Ghana, that was Kwame Nkrumah was inspired by Marcus Garvey and other African leaders, and so this is his philosophy, his thinking, the strategies that he put forward are things that I see returning now. And I challenge the current Caribbean leaders and African leaders to fulfill his dream. Because we are talking about the issue that we dealt, that you were dealing with, and that some of us were on the road yesterday, which, as you said, I think has pushed the Prime Minister to act.
Can I say, Ms. McCLEAN, it was really, really wonderful. I don't want to break this. We will go back to that.
We can come back to this because I want to talk about
this. I just want to quickly say, and I want you to go back to your story here, to say that it was really wonderful to see you out there. And I wasn't surprised because, as you talk about your grandfather, and if Dave could put that back on the screen, you are the kind of person, and I tell people all the time this about you, that you stand on principles. That's the Maxine McCLEAN I know, and it is a privilege to know you, ma'am. It really is. And you might not, a lot of people they watch you, and I think they see that, they see the class and the grace and how principled you are. And so, and I think it's coming from a history like this, and there you were in your white shirt out there, but back to your story about,
but as I was saying, this to me, and I want to bring it to today, and I want to link it with what we were talking about, because there's a connection with all of these things. We have a political class across the Caribbean, and I'm going to come straight to Barbados.
Yes.
The Prime Minister of Barbados, for example, is revered in many African countries. If you talk to Ghanaians who would have seen her South African who might have seen her, or somebody in Ethiopia where she might have gone to the head, the organization, the AU, the African Union, and spoken there, or at the United Nations. They talk about Barbadian Prime Minister who is challenging the developing world and who is championing climate change and small island developing states. Of course, these are all things that go back to the 90s when we talk about climate change, etc., where Barbados and was taking the lead. And if you go to the 90s, you're talking about the former Prime Minister, Mr. Erskine Sandiford, later Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford, and so on. But the point I'm making is we hear all of this talk, but on the ground, when we look at what is happening economically and how we view our political opponents. I listened in part as I was getting ready to come on the show. I was listening to you and your guest from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but I was also listening to some of what the Prime Minister said, because I was anxious to hear what she had to say in relation to this piece of legislation, and I will come to this. Now, the Prime Minister has gone to Africa. She's gone around the world talking about small island developing states and giving us a chance and all of these things. My question to the Honorable Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados, what are you doing to empower Black people like my son, my brother's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren? I use in my family as an example, the descendants of David McCLEAN, the man who invested all of $5 back in 1921. An economist or somebody who is into numbers can tell me the equivalent of what that is worth today. But I want to know what you are doing to empower people like me. You know why I'm asking that? Because I am sitting down and watching young Barbadians.
Yes.
Our young men in particular, because I'm going to stress our young men, because when we talk about crime, we are talking about young men. I saw a photograph circulating today with the allegation that this is a young man who committed suicide. I have not heard anything about it. I have not shared it, but I have received it multiple times. And if that is the case, if it happened, he's not the first one. And so all the talk that I hear, what are you doing to empower our young Black men and our young women? Because I put the men first, because the women are the ones who are benefiting the majority in our educational system. They're the ones who become I just saw a graduating class of young doctors. And I was trying to count the young men in there, because we know traditionally that used to be dominated by men. And I'm happy to see all the young women. But as the mother of a son, you're the mother of 3 sons.
Yes.
And as the parents of boys and young men, we have to be concerned that while our sons may get the push because of their family situation and so on, the guidance that they get from their parents, there are many young men out there who are adrift. There are also many young men who are not adrift, but who are very frustrated, because when they look around, if it is in construction, we are not seeing, for the most part, traditional methods of constructing houses by government, which used to be a major player in home construction. We are not seeing young entrepreneurs who have great ideas, who are technologically savvy, etc.
Yes.
Getting the opportunity. But what we're getting is an increase in crime, because at the end of the day, I suppose what a lot of the young men are saying, because they're the ones who are committing crime for the most part, they are out there saying, what else is there for me to do? Go and sell some drugs, go and rob somebody. A lot of us grew up with very little. I certainly did. And I didn't see my neighbors robbing people, etc. But at the same time, I would say this, the condition of the majority of people in the places that I went, in terms of your neighborhood, they were like yourself.
Yes.
But what we have now is a situation where somebody can spend $15,000 for an all year's night get together, they pay that for a cabana or whatever, or a VIP something at something. So when you see that kind of thing happening, you know, and I hear people come, and I certainly tonight I listened to the Prime Minister trying to explain, but as they say, to explain is to expose the madness that was captured in that legislation. Come and explain to me how the majority of people are getting an opportunity. Come and explain to me why it is that a promise, and we didn't hear, and you would remember that I said on this show more than once, we didn't hear the Prime Minister's voice when there were promises about transferring the sugar industry to a cooperative, and the cooperative, if consistent with the credit union movement, which is the biggest element of the cooperative movement in Barbados, is on like people like you and me, and certainly persons not who only look like me, but also the average Barbadian who would have earned much less than I did in my lifetime as a worker, but who, when we pool all their resources together, if they get to control that, it would make a difference. The Prime Minister has said nothing
about that
industry. People have been asking the state of the sugar industry, but you know what? All of a sudden now, when I heard people like Colonel Brown talking about not only the sugar industry, but linking it with energy, renewable energy, and the plans, which in the hands of a movement of over 100,000 people, because if you leverage the membership, you will be doing some of what Marcus Garvey talked about. But instead, what I'm hearing now is that there are plans for battery storage, etc. Who, and my question is, who will get to do that business? Who will get to control that business? You understand? And so I hear all the lip service being paid, and I hear the comments that we're trying to very subtly, because it was interesting to listen to the tone of the Prime Minister. And I have to promise I will.
Let's go over, because you've listened to. Did you listen to all the speech?
No, I could not listen to all because I had to get ready to come on this show. And to be honest,
but let me just say something to the people that when it's finished, we've been promised by
I can share some.
We've been promised by Mr. Corey GREENIDGE that he will join us. And so at any minute, once it's finished, he will come and he will join. But so can you just tell us what?
No, what I can tell you is, and the Prime Minister suggested, well, first of all, she spoke about the role of the president in terms of appointing this special commission or whatever. And I laughed because the bill, when it was presented by the Attorney General who led off the debate on behalf of the government, that was not part of the bill. That was introduced after the leader of the opposition, the Honorable Mr. Ravtarn. The Honorable is usually used in relation to members of cabinet, but I don't want to waste time. When Mr. Ravtarn spoke, he drew to the public's attention that that was a major weakness in the bill. But listening to the Prime Minister tonight, she didn't say, well, the first thing that I opted to change once I listened to the leader of the opposition was to change that as I spoke on the floor of Parliament. But listening to her tonight, if you had just come down from Mars and you were hearing about the bill, you would say, oh, the Prime Minister said, but the president, the head of state, will be appointing these people. After that was determined, after Mr. Thorne spoke about it. I got the impression also, and she talked about people marching up and down, but it is the people marching up and down who would have pushed the Prime Minister and her cabinet and parliamentary colleagues to act. Because she mentioned, and if Mr. GREENIDGE will correct this if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, she talked about imported conspiracy theories, but don't worry about that. What she indicated, the exception will be repealed after consultation. Now, these were her words. after consultation with the AG. And she went on to say that the government listens to complaints. And I smiled and I wrote down the word shoddiness. It is not about listening to complaints. Because let me just quickly, while we wait for Mr. Greenish to come, I haven't listened to all. And I would say this, members of the loyal opposition, while I cannot speak for what happens in government now, I can speak to you about the processes that we followed for 10 years when I was a member of the cabinet. Any piece of legislation, before it can go to Parliament and be debated, first being presented by a member of government and then responded to by the opposition and debated by whoever wants to speak on either side, has to come to cabinet for approval. That it will, and it will be sent forward to Parliament. Of course, in order to come to cabinet, that piece of legislation is drafted within the chambers of one of the agencies within the Attorney General's under Attorney General purview. That is drafted, but most importantly, it is drafted on the basis of drafting instructions, which would come from the relevant minister. So, for example, something on agriculture would most likely be sent forward by the Minister of Agriculture and so on.
Right.
But it is there are clear drafting instructions. In other words, the legal drafters are told what government wants inside that bill. So even though I go and say, Marcy, you are a legal drafter, we want something on wiretapping, and you decide what? No, you are given instructions. This is what we want inside of the bill. Having drafted, it goes to the Attorney General to scrutinize. I will hope he reads it. Certainly, I know what used to happen when I was part, as I said, of that cabinet. So the Attorney General goes through that, and then the Attorney General signs off and sends it to cabinet. That sign off is saying to the cabinet and to the world, because once it reaches Parliament, the assumption is that it is fit, that it reflects the intentions of government, and that all that he wants and all that cabinet wants to see in there is in there. So when the Prime Minister said that this exception will be taken out before it goes to the Senate, if I understood her correctly, after consulting with the AG, that consultation should have happened before. And because what the concerns expressed by the public and shared on this program, and before that highlighted by Mr. Thorne, those concerns are not some kind of obscure, unexpected reaction. It is a clear and obvious reaction to a situation where traditionally you're saying that we want to have a process that's transparent. You have to have a warrant. But then they make an exception and say, well, in some cases, we're not going to have a warrant. Come on. If you have a clear case of what you want to do and you are genuinely pursuing criminals,
yes,
then you understand. But you would have heard me speak on this program. I actually took the time yesterday standing in front of the building of Parliament to explain to those who would listen.
Yes, you did. You took the mic.
What that exception would mean, because that exception, to be honest, would apply more to people like you and me.
Yes.
Because it created a significant loophole. So the point I'm making is when you read section 5.2b, I got it correct, right? 5.2b.
Yes. 5.2b. After yesterday, I think everybody got it. Everybody got it after yesterday.
So when you look at that and you're telling the public, no, you know what? We heard you and we understand your complaint. So I'm going to speak to the Attorney General. He should have read it and understood the dangers and the problems that would create. But no, that was the intention. So I don't understand. You know, one thing, Marcy, I will say this. I hate people to take me for a fool. I am not stupid. And it is an insult to the intelligence of Barbados to say some of the things that I heard the Prime Minister give in terms of this. That should have been, and all it leads me to ask is, the process that I just described, was that process followed in respect of this, and is it a process that is followed by the government before they bring legislation?
Right.
What I can also tell you is that Prime Minister suggested that the immigration bill and the citizenship bill, I guess she's been hearing some rumblings about that, should be made available, as they should, because these are two important pieces of legislation which should be subject to scrutiny by Barbadians. You know, but so I would say to the Prime Minister, you ain't fooling nobody. As I used to say to people, I might have been born a night, but I'm born last night. You know, I've been around a long time, and people, these are serious things, you know, Marcy, that they believe that they could. The reality is, over the last 6 years, prior to the crossing of the floor, Mr. Thorne, I would say that the level of debate, the depth of analysis of bills, because the Prime Minister made reference to the quality of the work of Parliament. Let me see if she talked about informed debate and spoke about the standards in Parliament. And I would say this is somebody who sat there for 10 years. And if anybody goes and does an analysis of the debates, the length of time, the amount of the issues raised on any piece of legislation, the numbers of members of Parliament or members of the Senate who speak on these things, what they say, how they debate it, and so on, would recognize without a shadow of a doubt, and I say this without a fear of contradiction, that the average debate of a bill since this administration has come to office has been very shallow. The level of participation by members of Parliament whose responsibility it would be to help their constituents to understand that the level of participation has been less than adequate in almost all situations. It has changed, and I heard from somebody who said Mr. Thorne came, once he crossed the floor, the level of debate had risen because they had to step up their game. So, you know, Prime Minister Whelan come again when you come to explain this. First of all, she started out by saying, this is not a political speech of any sort. No, please, Prime Minister. If you want to say to me, and this is where we have to use language correctly, you are the head politician as Prime Minister. That's how I describe it. That's my words. You are the head politician. As head politician, what kind of speeches do you give? What is the business of a politician? Politics. What it should not be. And I always, you would know that I always choose my words correctly.
Yes.
If you're saying to me, it is not a partisan political speech, I'm comfortable with that. But you're not coming to give us a lecture. You're not coming to preach to us. You're coming to speak to us as I describe you as the head politician in this country. So you give a political speech. What we want in that political speech is a speech that is factual, that speaks to the realities, that is objective, that is serious, you know? Come on, you know, and so to me, right, when I listen to these things, you know, being in Barbados, we have just come through is 2 weeks, because I think Parliament, almost 2 weeks or a week plus, of discussion arising out of the passage of a piece of legislation in the House of Assembly.
It's actually 10 days because they introduced it, as far as I remember, August 7th.
Right. 10 days, 10 days, almost 2 weeks. 10 days.
Almost 2 weeks, 10 days.
Of a piece of legislation that you did not deliberately seek to give significant opportunity to speak. In other words, there are things that are sufficiently important that the government can utilize its multiple sources of information dissemination. We have the Government Information Service. We also have a parallel institution that where we have a number of political appointees who function in the same public relations kind of communications space. Well, I hate to use words that are buzzwords, communications arena. And this is something I believe that if you sat around as cabinet, as parliamentary group, you would say, look, you know what, colleagues, as important as it is for us to try to get certain pieces of legislation in place and to tackle crime, because if we see it as a major plank in seeking to address crime, it is also important, given Section 52B, that we talk about it with the public. But you know what? It was not discussed in Parliament. The Attorney General, I sat down and I listened to the Attorney General's speech on this, his introduction of this bill. I listened to every word. I might have lost focus a minute or two, as is human to do. But I listened to the Attorney General and he spoke about warrants. He did not speak to this.
He did not. He did not.
Now, I would ask him the question. Sorry, go ahead, Marcia. You were saying.
No, I was saying that he did not. In fact, what he said amounted to basically what he was saying was that all of the wiretapping or the interception would be done with a warrant, and his colleague, Minister Abrams, came and backed him up. So
Yes.
they said the opposite of what was in the bill that he had in his hand. That's why I kept hammering away to people, to the viewers, and saying that on that particular occasion, those two gentlemen lied to the people of Barbados. And I'm not taking
omitted
it back.
significantly. I heard you mention that you can lie by commission or
Yes,
by
or
committing
can lie by
something or
omission.
omission.
And
And
they
this-
didn't- and it wasn't just that, but they also went and whatever was given to the GIS, because you can't blame the GIS so much because they are writing whatever the minister sent. They also put the lie in the GIS document, and we have to call it what it is. They were in Jamaica. We call you a jinal. You are deceiving the people by leaving a piece of the information. But just continue.
Mr. Abrams stresses that the legislation can only be enacted with a warrant from the highest judicial office in the
What
land.
is
Now, you
that?
see, and this is the problem. Now, I asked the question. There are 29 members of parliament, BLP members of parliament. A significant number of them sit in cabinet, which means that they are party to the approval of what goes to Parliament for debate. As I mentioned earlier, the bills have to go and be approved and signed off to be sent forward to Parliament. That happens in cabinet unless they change the rules. And, the systems don't change. I will hardly think that they have changed. Well, I don't know. Let me put it away. That's what's supposed to happen. Typically, again, because as I said earlier, I can only describe the processes as I understood them. And these processes, this is what I'm going to say now, apply to both political parties over the years, whether they're in government or in opposition. Political parties have, the parliamentary group is really then the bringing together of the members of cabinet and the other persons serving in Parliament, the backbenchers, and the members of the Senate. So you get together as a parliamentary group. In the case, and I think, I believe both of them probably used to meet on Mondays. But typically, Parliament meets on Tuesdays. So in the case of the Democratic Labour Party, we met on Mondays. And that parliamentary group would look at the legislative agenda. They will look at the pieces of legislation, the actual bill with all the provisions, and we will discuss it. want to make sure people understood, because remember I said the cabinet approves, but then you have to make sure that the other parliamentarians who don't sit in cabinet understand and know what's in there, because they speak to the legislation as well.
Yeah.
You know, so that is the process. So my question, therefore, it says to me, based on what the Prime Minister said about hearing the complaints, that she and her 28 colleagues, along with the 12 senators, so that's 29 and 10 is 39, and 1 is 40, 41 persons, 29 and 12 is 41 persons, either sat down and accepted Section 52B and were comfortable with it because they didn't think it would be a concern for the public, and they proceeded with it, and it was seen as not, as either something, it's either that, you know, they were okay with it, but they probably felt that the public would not be okay with it. Therefore, the Attorney General opted not to speak to it, nor anybody else.
Yeah, but
or the other alternative.
Sorry, let me let you finish. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I can put the R.
No. Let me let you. Because you said or.
Or the other point is that they didn't read it. So, and very few spoke to it in Parliament. So they probably didn't know what the content was. And I asked the Attorney General, based on the Prime Minister needing to consult, you know, weren't you aware of the contents of this bill? Go ahead, Marcia.
Yeah. You know, I just got I don't know if Dave is able to put it up right now. But Mr. One of the I consulted with Mr. Halgallop, who you see on the screen right now, and he is a senior lawyer in Barbados. And normally he doesn't comment on anything on the show per se, but I think lawyers are very upset tonight, very upset with what is happening. And I want to just read to you what he says. You want to read Miss McCLEAN?
Okay, it says it is another case of ineptitude. A bill coming to Parliament has to be accompanied by a certificate, that's what I described, from the AG as to its readiness for debate. The fact that they've had to retract and correct glaring mistakes and weaknesses with such regularity must not be seen as an apologetic justification based on the spurious reason of listening to the public and acting accordingly. It is a case of poor administration and bad governance. Please note, they have to explain why they continue to get it wrong when there is that need for certificate. They are always engaged in ex post facto action. And this is an excellent capturing of the points that I'm trying to make. The certificate from the AG, from the content in terms of the coverage of the issues that are to be regulated, to be addressed by the law, down to grammatical errors, because they were correcting some of the bill. The time it was replete with errors of that type. Now, you've been a teacher, Marcia. I don't know how you operated, but I marked scripts for many years. And anybody who would have sat in one of my classes and for whom I would have marked a script would tell you that their grammatical errors were picked up. Mm-hmm. I didn't just read it and say, well, John Brown or Mary Smith spelled this wrong, or their agreements are off, you know, their use of the verb, the tenses or whatever. I corrected those things because you are communicating with me, right, in English and in words. So when these things come, and I can tell you again from my experience, when we received drafts of bills and there were some of those errors, we pointed them out. I had one colleague in particular, and I can call her name, Dr. Bayasuku, was very able to pick up those kinds of errors. If you wanted a document proofread, she could do it, and she would hardly ever miss an error, you know. And so I don't understand the explanation, but I would say this and then hear what your response is. I have always heard the expression to explain is to expose. And I would say to Prime Minister Motley, thank you for your explanation, but for me, you have exposed what is spelled out here in this comment.
Yeah. You know, Ms. McCLEAN, there are several things here that I want to talk about. One is just to piggyback on what Mr. Hal Golloper said about the certificate and you as well, that it is either that the Prime Minister is deceiving once again, deceiving the people of Barbados into thinking that she had no idea that Section 52B was in the bill. She wants us to believe she is a lawyer, and she stood up and defended the bill in Parliament. And the only thing she mentioned in Parliament was after Mr. Thorne had spoken about the conflict, right, with the minister, political appointee, would be appointing members on the oversight committee. That is when she said, it's after. Then she said, well, it should be the president, the head of state, and they're going to change it. At no time did she mention Section 52B. So it's either Prime Minister Mia Motley, it's either you are out to sea on this, you do not read the bills before time, you did not meet with the 41 persons, Ms. McCLEAN, you did not have that meeting, the cabinet never met about this bill, or once again, you are deceiving the people of Barbados in believing that you only just found out about this. Could it be, Madam, 1 second, Ms. McCLEAN, could it be, Madam, that you were hoping that this would have passed without anybody realizing it? Could that be it? Could that be another case of the like the cybercrime bill or the child protection bill, that you were hoping that it would pass and nobody will see that you were trampling on the rights of the citizens, the constitutional rights of the citizens? Could that be, Madam? And I want to address this thing that I'm being reported to here about people marching up and down, and that people are bashing Barbados. You could look at a march like that starts with the anthem, has displayed the flag of Barbados with proud Barbadians named out of a line out of the anthem, playing the anthem at the Parliament. Come on. And you are going to say that because the people are standing up against you, the people are standing, and thank God the people stood up against you. Thank God that we were we worked together to communicate, to educate the people of Barbados of your deception, Madam Prime Minister. And you are going to say that we are bashing Barbados? Let me just say to you, Madam, that what you are doing, you are destroying the fabric of this country. That is what you're doing. You are trampling on the human rights of your citizens. Every turn. That is what you are doing, ma'am. And to the marches, let me just say this here concerning the marches. Ma'am, Madam Prime Minister, Honorable PM Mia Amor Motley, get ready. There will be more marches. We have lots more to march about. Lots more. What about the immigration bill? Were we even consulted about anything, about all these thousands of people that you plan to bring here? Who are those people? And why now? You think we have stopped marching as yet? What about the heavy burden of taxes that we, the citizens of Barbados, carry in this country? You haven't seen any marching yet. And those of you who are watching, you go back and you let her know, Carrie Festo or no Carrie Festo, we will be marching in this country. We are under a heavy burden of taxation. Look at our hospital. I don't, you know what, let me try to be respectful tonight, but let me just tell you in the strongest of voice, Madam Prime Minister, we will march. Our feet will hit the streets. We are carrying a heavy burden of taxation in this country. Mr. McCLEAN, I sat down and listened to young people last night, business people, and the import bill. When they can't, they're in a t-shirt business. They're in this, they cannot make ends meet. And you're talking about marching up and down? You think you see marching yet? Saturday, 10 o'clock. Saturday, 10 o'clock. We are going back to Kensington. And we will march. Because your Attorney General, your Minister of Home Affairs said what you are correcting was not a problem. And I tell you, Miss McCLEAN, just tell me something quick before I finish my rant here. What's the date that they had that Parliament? Wasn't it Tuesday?
It was it. Yeah, they met the Tuesday. That was Tuesday.
What's the 8th?
That would have been the 7th or the 8th, something like that. I would have to look at the calendar, the Tuesday.
I want Barbadians to never forget August 8th. Write it down. I'm writing it on my book.
Let me check if it's the 8th.
Check
well,
me,
it was 2 Tuesdays ago because
it's August 8th.
Yeah.
Somebody double check for me, please.
But you know, Marcia, yeah.
Double check for me, please. Double check. I come into McCLEAN and I see Mr. Greenidge there. But Dave, is it August 8th? I didn't hear. It's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday after Kadooment?
Yeah.
No. They met the Friday after Kadooment.
Parliament met
the Friday after.
I think it was a Friday. I think they met the Friday. I would need to go back and look at it, but I would.
Let me just
they met a Friday, and I think that might have been the Friday.
Let me make this appeal to the people, and then Mr. Greenidge is going to come in. August 8th. You should never forget that date. That date proves to you cannot trust this government. August the 8th. You had the Attorney General. You had the Minister of Home Affairs. You had the Prime Minister coming after that. And there was nothing wrong with this bill until a son of the soil, Corey Greenidge, until he was able to educate his fellow Barbadians about Section 52B. This bill would have gone. Thank God for Honorable Ralph Thorne. This was a piece of deception. I tell you, theater in Parliament to deceive Barbadians. And you had to come back tonight with egg on your face and coming to talk about people marching up and down Barbados. That's why you came in, because you are quaking in your boots. You have felt the shaking, Madam Prime Minister, and you will feel some more shaking. The earthquake is coming. But let me get ready. Miss McCLEAN, I know you have a comment, and then a quick comment. I'm going to bring in Mr. Greenidge.
No, I just very quickly wanted to remind the Prime Minister. In fact, yesterday, a clip was played from one of her marches. And we could always go back and talk, but I wouldn't delay further. But the Prime Minister used every opportunity to, when she wasn't demonstrating, she was using social media. The Prime Minister has no moral authority to talk about marches. She needs to listen and understand why people are doing it. It's not for frivolous purposes, but bring in Mr. Greenidge. I'm sure he has a lot that he can share, having listened to the Prime Minister.
So yes, I want to encourage everybody, like and share, and we like and share. Mr. Greenidge is coming on right now. Like and share. I know you've been watching us, but we need you to be part of this team. Okay, this is an important team for our country. So I need you to like and to share. Everybody, take a moment so that you don't miss when Mr. Greenidge comes on. All right, so do it now. He's going to be on in a minute. All right, so please, I know, just make sure you do that. How many likes we have so far? Important. And the only reason we're pushing for likes is because of the algorithm and because they keep reporting the show. So when you like it, it's telling the algorithm that nothing is wrong. All right, that's why you like. It's not for us. It's not for me because I don't get any money from it. Okay, it is so that the show could go far and wide. All right, okay. Well, let's welcome Mr. Corey Greenidge to the Marcia Week Show. Good night, sir.
Good night, Miss Weeks. Good night, and good night to you, Miss McCLEAN. Happy to join you tonight.
Yes, sir. It's really a pleasure to see you. And I just want to say, on behalf of Barbados, sir, the citizens of Barbados who love the blue, yellow, and black, or gold and black, I want to say thank you to you and Mr. Thorne for your stellar work and you sticking your neck out. You know, I know what that is like. You have to stick your professional neck out and to say, listen, my people, something is wrong here. And what I loved about what you did, it was done in a non-partisan way. And you were appealing to the entire Barbados. And I want to commend you for that. But the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. As you and I'm sure your listeners are aware, and very happy with the fact that our work was not in vain, and that what I want to say to our listeners and to citizens all across Barbados, this is what our democracy is supposed to look like. We are supposed to raise our voices. We are supposed to agitate. We are supposed to call our government to account for their decisions and call them account for how they govern this country. I congratulate the opposition leader, Mr. Thorne, for his leadership on this issue. But apart from any political pat on the back, I want to say to the citizens of Barbados, this is a win for the people. Anytime we have a situation where we are able to speak truth to power and put power in a position where it is undeniable such that they have to reverse or change course, that is a win for every single citizen of Barbados and every single citizen that enjoy the freedoms of our Constitution and enjoy the rights that are given by our Constitution. It really is a victory for the people. I'm sure there will be plenty time for all of the political gamesmanship, and that's the reality of the society in which we live. Our government is run, and we acquire governance by political means. So I don't want to say that politics is a bad word, but before we focus there, I really wanted to say to the Barbadian people, this is a victory for the people.
Yes. And I, you know, earlier in the program, I was saying to them that so many Barbadians picked up on what you were saying. You know, when you think of somebody like Wade Gibbons, who did a lot of posting on his Facebook page, once again sticking out his neck in a climate that we live, the kind of climate we live in Barbados, where there's a lot of victimization and marginalization of people. You know, where he did something like that. And then the others who wrote to their MPs, there were people who wrote to their MPs and wrote to their senators, you know, and to the senators. I think that we should all be commended, you know, Mr. Greenidge, as a citizenry. We came together and we did something. And that is, you know, the anthem says, and I wrote that little piece down, pride of nationhood. And I think that this is what it looks like.
Yes, and I also want to add to that comment that this is a watershed moment, because what it does is that it puts the government on notice that the people are aware and the people are awake. It you don't want the floodgates to open, because the reality is, I believe if this bill passed in its present form, that this would have been an indication that the government can pass such legislation with such loopholes and lacking guardrails with impunity, as if the voices of the people did not matter. There are many other issues that will raise its head. There's some that are still being debated now. For example, this tint legislation and the deadline of September 1st, which has thrown the country into chaos. But I want to say to the people that this is but the beginning of the fight. We must not get weary. I'm not sure if you've shared with your viewers, but I, over the weekend, was named as the candidate to face the next general election on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. It is with deep humility that I accept that nomination. And I mentioned that to say that, yes, we are in a political environment, but this fight continues. It continues because we have to speak truth to power. The reality is that we know that there are 29 seats being held by the Labour Party in the House of Assembly. And that should not deter us, one, as a people, as a Democratic Labour Party, but more so, it should not put us in a position where we believe that everything the government says is gospel. We need to continue to ask our government to be accountable to the people. It is about the people. It is about every citizen, despite their class or their creed, despite their economic circumstances. All of us are equal under the law.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, you would have listened to the Prime Minister tonight, and our arrangement was that you would listen, and then you would come on and to give your review and your thoughts on what our Prime Minister, said in the press conference. So, please go right ahead, sir.
Certainly, as it was reported earlier today, the Prime Minister has in fact conceded that the bill does provide for warrantless wiretapping, which I think, just as I joined the show tonight, I did hear yourself and Ms. McCLEAN commenting on the fact that the Attorney General and the Home Affairs Minister, less than, I would say, a week and a half ago, stood on the floor of Parliament and themselves declared that the only way it can be done is by warrant. I think that is something that in the coming days, I think we need to examine in a very serious way, because these are the representatives of the people that have gone to the House to represent the people. These are both senior attorneys at the Barbados Bar, and I think it is something that we're going to need to discuss further within the coming days. That said, though, I am quite happy that the Prime Minister has seen it fit to reverse course. I do not have before me the actual provisions. I believe her words were that we will make the necessary provisions to put what she has said in action. So we still need to be able to see what the amendments actually are, and that they do what they say they will do. That's why I said we're not going to simply sit on our laurels and pat ourselves on our back. There's more work to be done. Once those amendments come out, we need to be able to look and make sure that those words have actually been reduced into writing, and that they do what they say they will do. So this is a victory for the people. The Prime Minister did speak very extensively on a number of other measures, all of which I don't believe we're able to discuss tonight. But I think what is most important, and that our takeaway here today, is that we have been able to have what I believe was spirited debate. And the Prime Minister herself did make reference to it. She did say that this is a country where we should be able to have debate, be able to disagree on the issues, and be able to come to some common ground. And I am pleased tonight that the sentiments of the Prime Minister I agree with. I agree that we should be able to have spirited debate and be able to come to a position which benefits all of the Barbadian citizens. Like I said, we will wait until we're able to read the amendments carefully. So we will wait that those amendments, which I believe will be sent to the Senate on Wednesday, and we will comment further at that time.
Yeah, Mr. GREENIDGE, Ms. McCLEAN just educated us, and so did Mr. Halgallop, on the process that would, if a bill is coming to the House, that it would first have to go to the cabinet, etc. There's a process, and he talks about a certificate that a bill coming to Parliament has to be accompanied by a certificate from the AG as to its readiness for debate. The question is, and he says the fact that they have to retract and correct glaring mistakes and weaknesses with such regularity must be seen as, what are your thoughts about that? Because I'm a lay person, and I'm thinking, if there are processes that are set up, and the bill has to go through these processes, how did it get here? How did it, with such issues, constitutional issues, how did it get here, sir?
I believe that the parliamentary process is a complicated one, and this would not be the first time in our history where we have a bill that has come to the floor that requires amendments. Quite frankly, that is the nature of why it is debated in the House, such that you can have contributions from both sides of the aisle, and those contributions should be taken into account in case there are other amendments. So a bill like this would have come through the parliamentary process and would have made it onto the floor. I would point out also that this bill is one that is quite similar to other bills across the Caribbean, and oftentimes the drafting process is not necessarily, well, in most cases, actually very, very seldom, you would find that the drafting process is for a bill that is being drafted from scratch. So what that means is that because there's legislation or similar legislation, certainly in other CARICOM nations, and even if not in other CARICOM nations, you would see that the parliamentary process may reach into other common law jurisdictions, other jurisdictions similar to ours that may have a piece of legislation that you kind of adopt and you use as your base for drafting or bringing a bill to the floor. So I don't want to speculate. I think you and I have spoken enough times to know that I am terribly cautious about speculating or waxing poet about anything that I am not absolutely certain about. So how it got to the floor of Parliament, I do not know what process, if it went through the proper process, if it simply fell off a truck and somebody brought it in off the street, I do not know. What I will say, however, is that once it reached there and once the debate had started, I again emphasize the absolute disappointment of hearing both the Attorney General and the Home Affairs Minister making a declaratory statement about something that was supposed to be in the bill that was obviously not true. And by obviously, to any first-year law student, anyone that even has any type of acumen towards legislation could see that was not true. Whether the gentleman had read the bill or whether they had not, again, I don't speculate, but it is quite disturbing. And it demonstrates, I think what the Prime Minister alluded to tonight was a scenario where, because of the circumstances within the country, there are often times where you have to be nimble or be quick about passing legislation. But I don't know if that was such a time as now, to the extent that you have a piece of legislation that is so significant in its operation. And by that, I mean that it removes or it restricts or has the potential to restrict the rights of citizens. That is not, and I've said this before on your show, that's not something that's done just inadvisably and not properly thought out. So again, I do not speculate on how the bill got to the floor in its present form. But I think it is something that I think it is something that we should examine in the days to come. And I also think it is something that the Prime Minister and or the Attorney General should return to the people of Barbados and explain themselves. It's not for us to speculate. I believe that the administration has a duty to return to the people and explain why something that was so obviously flawed almost made it through the two houses of Parliament.
I listen to you, sir, and what I am thinking, And I saw somebody made a comment on this. The fact that, it was, we had a 30 love twice. And all I'm thinking of, Mr. Greenidge, is can you imagine if, sir, we did not have at least one person in opposition in there, where you guys, obviously you've had your meetings and so on, and there's preparation before Mr. Thorne goes in, you're full and ready. Can you imagine if we did not have that? And so I want you to comment on that, because I'm thinking, sir, if we had even a 16-14, something like that, I think Barbadians need to reflect on that and the importance of a strong opposition. Can you speak to that?
Certainly. I agree with you entirely. To imagine if there was no debate, and that's really what you're focusing on, because there's
Yes.
only one voice in opposition. It actually lends to debate. What if there was no debate? What if there was no opposing view, such that you can bring to the House of Parliament glaring errors within the bill? It is difficult to even imagine what would happen in that circumstance. For the Barbadian people to reflect, yes. Now, our democratic process is one that allows for you to vote for whomever you want to vote for. And if the citizenry comes to a position where they want to repose all of their votes into one party, that is actually part of the process. That's how the process works. What I would say is this, and I will frame it a bit anecdotally to call it coattail politics. What I think Barbadians need to be aware of is this shift towards voting for one personality and everyone else that's attached to that coattail. Our system is broken into 30 constituencies. And I believe we have to go back to a place where each candidate, or each of the candidates that contest those constituencies, should come to the people and give a reasoned representation and argument as to why they should represent the people. The last time that I was on your show, I believe that I mentioned that the Parliament of is the people's house.
Yes.
It is a house in which we say to every representative, here, you have my vote. Go in and represent my interests. So when you have then a scenario where you have this coattail politics and everybody's riding high on personality and colors and all that, you end up with a situation where the interests of the people are now confined into one ideology. It is confined into one leader, and anything goes at that point in time. You understand what I'm saying? So it is you will not hear me say that the process of our democracy is broken, because every one of us can go into the polls and enjoy free and fair elections. Our elections in Barbados have a rich history of being organized without any violence, without even the suspicion of irregularity. We have enjoyed that, and we will continue to enjoy that. But when it comes then to the governance of the country and the democratic institutions, we have to guard against that, where all of the powers of the institutions within our democracy, all of the levers of power within our democracy are being pulled by one party, or for that matter, one person. So it is something, I think this exercise that we have just been through, where you can now appreciate the importance of opposition voices, where you can appreciate the importance of an opposition that is able to speak with intelligence, that is able to speak with certainty, and is able to bring the feet of the government to fire, to bring accountability to what they're doing. I want Barbadian citizens to recognize that has tremendous value as a representation of the people's rights. It has value for the persons to ensure that their interests are represented in the House of Parliament.
Yes. I mean, very, very well said. And, one of the things that we try to do on the show, since we have started, since the show went this way over 2 years ago, is to encourage Barbadians to speak out, encourage Barbadians to let your voices be heard on issues that concern you. When we started out, Mr. Greenidge, and we said we're going to go on the streets, people said, Marcia, they're not going anywhere. I actually went by myself because they said, that's not Barbadian. Bajans don't do that. But I think once people are educated on a particular issue, like what you did and what Mr. Thorne did, I think people they begin to understand, because Barbadians, they're intellectual people, very educated people. They've got to understand the issues. And I think that is what you've done. And I want you to speak to the people, how important it is that their voice remains strong. We heard the Prime Minister, what I didn't hear was reported to me that she was kind of speaking in a disparaging way about people marching up and down and bashing the country and so on. As someone, a son of the soil, you hear something like that. You understand the Constitution of Barbados. You sing the anthem. You say the pledge. What do you say to your countrymen this evening concerning those two comments?
Forgive me, I'm going to answer your question, but there was a comment from one of your viewers that came across the screen that I wanted to make sure I don't let stand. The person disagreed with me when I said that the elections are fair. There we go. And I wanted to comment on that. I have spent the last 5 years sitting on the Electoral and Boundaries Commission as one of the commissioners appointed by the opposition leader in 2020. So I've spent the last 5 years sitting on the Electoral and Boundaries Commission. I have also traveled the Caribbean in 4 separate occasions as part of CARICOM delegation to observe elections across the Caribbean. So when I speak, again, I do not simply speak about it as if I do not know. I want to say to the viewer that made the comment, and to all of your viewers, our elections and the conduct of those elections are free and fair. And I'm speaking from a position of having sat within the seat of a commissioner of the Electoral Boundaries Commission and have walked the process for 5 years. I don't want us to allow our debate to descend into suspicion and casting doubt on our process. I want to offer my expertise to your viewers to say our elections are indeed conducted in a free and fair manner. To answer your question directly with respect to the voices, again, I think that what we have just experienced over the last week and a half or so, I think should be a clear demonstration to every citizen in Barbados that the voices of Barbadians and to the point where you need to demonstrate is extremely important. Oftentimes you will hear Barbadians described in comparison to our Caribbean neighbors that we tend to be a more passive citizenry, that we tend not to agitate. I think that Barbadians are reasonable people, yes, and I think that based on our social construct in Barbados, we tend not to engage in a lot of agitation to the extent that there's unrest. But be that as it may, I think that it should not go to a point where we are not paying attention. And I believe that the danger now is that a lot of Barbadians do not pay attention for a number of different reasons. A lot of the reasons is that they are very personal issues, pocketbook issues, that people can't find the time to kind of look around to. I mean, you're on air and you're debating constitutional matters. No, most Barbadians need to know how are we going to send those children to school in 2 weeks? I have to buy uniforms, I have to buy shoes and books and pay petty fees. So it's not to criticize the Barbadian public from that perspective. There are real issues that face individuals. So from that perspective, then it is incumbent upon your elected officials, incumbent upon activists such as Ms. Weeks, long-standing public officials like Ms. McCLEAN, who has served in the Senate, has served Barbados for a number of years, to lend their voices and to lend our support to where the citizens may not be able to do so. And that's why I pointed out that the representation in the parliament is so important. So to round up that, to say then, is that when you examine, we are going to enter a season shortly where literally at any time you can have an election. The election is constitutionally due in February of 2027. So between now and 2027, there will be times when the fever of politics will increase. Examine the candidates that are before you, not just because of a color they're wearing, but examine them and ask yourself, can that candidate represent my interests in the House of Parliament? So that when I am paying attention to my pocketbook issues, I can be assured that that candidate, that representative will have my interests at heart. And I think that's would be my admonition to the voting public.
You know, and I'm going to get to my hope Miss McCLEAN has a question for Mr. GREENIDGE, but I see Adrian Hines has and you touched on it a while ago, and I want to put that back on the screen. He says, I hope Mr. GREENIDGE is aware of the deep entrenchment of party politics. And I can tell you, Mr. GREENIDGE, I've lived there for over 20-something years. And, you know, everything you say, they feel that you're saying it because you're behind a color. You know, I have been branded because I'm speaking up on behalf of Barbadians. So they brand you with a color. Right. And it's entrenched. I agree with him, party politics in Barbados. And I wonder what will he be doing to combat it? He says, I'm at a loss for workable ideas to arrest and turn it around. And I'm very much at the same point as Mr. Hines. You started to talk about that because I quickly say this. What you talk about representation is exactly what I believe. I will never tell you, will never know. I'm not going to say I'm going to vote B, I'm going to vote D. I look at the candidates before me. That's the truth. I don't know what I'm voting next year or next in 2027, Mr. GREENIDGE. This woman you see here, I look at the candidates before me. Who do I think will best represent me? Is exactly what I do. But the average person doesn't do that. But anyway, back to Adrian's question.
And I will try to answer Adrian's question as best I can. The reality of our society is that since 1955, I believe, Miss McCLEAN may be able to correct me. I believe it was 1955 when the Democratic Labour Party was founded. We have been, for the most part, a two-party system. All of our prime ministers have been from one party or the other. There was one instance, I believe, again, Ms. McCLEAN, I'm not a historian, but I believe 1994, I think, with Richard Haynes may have been the only time that a candidate from a third party was successful in gaining a seat in the House of Parliament. And even that within the next cycle had kind of the status quo had returned in terms of two-party politics. And when you talk to voters, and I've been out into the field and I've spoken to voters, there are some voters whose family history is steeped in one party or the other, and not for the wrong reasons. There's some persons, especially in the district that I am now contesting, who would say, listen, my grandfather or my mother got a job from Bree St. John. You do understand, and there is a sense of loyalty and there's a sense of gratitude that Barbadians feel when they can identify with a party official or a party parliamentarian that has assisted their family. And that assistance, you got to remember Barbadian history a lot of times from generation to generation. It's assistance in getting education, for example. You would have a DLP voter that would say, listen, I will always vote D because of Errol Barrow, excuse me, who introduced free education. So there is a sense of my family was able to pull itself up with its bootstraps because we got education, and I will never change it because there's a gratefulness. So I don't want us to demonize party politics, because a lot of it is because people are grateful or can identify with the policies or the help that they have received from from a party. That said, however, I have also been into the constituency and have met people that say to me, yes, I have been a B for all my life, but I like you. And they engage. So I don't want us to be cynical that and this is to Mr. I forgot
Adrian Hines.
Adrian Hines. I don't want us to be cynical because there is a wide opportunity for candidates like myself and other candidates within the Democratic Labour Party to be able to go and represent themselves as a credible choice to represent the people in the House of Parliament, despite the colors, despite the party affiliation. Because a lot of Barbadians are aware when a government is not doing or representing them. And many, if they are able to present yourself as a credible alternative, are willing to listen and may very well vote for you. So just to sum up what I was saying, party politics in Barbados is historical. Over 6-7 decades, the Democratic Labour Party will celebrate 70 years of existence in this year. So you're talking about a half century and score of party politics, and those are generational things that they're generational effects that come with that. But I assure you, as I walk the constituency, there are persons who will say, listen, I like you. I want to hear what you're saying. I need change. Can you bring about change? Even though if they have historically voted one way or the next.
So you're seeing that people are open to listen, is what you're saying.
Oh, most definitely, and
yeah, and I hope that, because we've seen that with people, they listen, but somehow when the day comes, sometimes they just go back to what their grandmother did, and that's what we're hoping through education, Mr. Greenidge, and understanding the issues like what you're doing and what we're trying to do with this show, is that we can move them away from that to one where they're thinking about their future and the future of their children.
I would go as far as to say, I don't think that we should be discouraged. Historically, elections in Barbados, if you go back, you've had scenarios where the Democratic Labour Party, and I may not be able to get the year right, where you had 26 or was it 24-3, I think, when they had the 3 blind mice, Miss McCLEAN. So the pendulum moves. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It moves, and that is and I want to repeat, that is the strength of our democracy, because Barbadians have always had the choice and to exercise that choice. And that is the strength of the democracy in which we live. So I am not in the least bit discouraged, because I know that once all of the candidates of the Democratic Labour Party, once we go out and we have the opportunity to speak to the people, once we have the opportunity to represent ourselves as credible alternatives or credible candidates that can represent the people in the House of Parliament, Barbadians will give you their ear, and some of them will give you their vote. I'm not discouraged at all.
Yes. Well, before Miss McCLEAN makes a comment or asks a question, I see here Mrs. Corbin, who is a regular guest, regular panelist. What am I talking about? Guest on the program. And she says, in my opinion, Mr. Greenidge has already demonstrated that it's national and nation before party politics, acting for the people on either side than party before people. We got what she's saying, and I think that is what I heard. People called me on that, and that is what we want to hear. This is what it's all about. Every night, Mr. Greenidge, we have this flag here every single night, and it's only when I change location I don't have the flag, and it means something to us, and we get discouraged, and we get all in our feelings. I'm a Jamaican, and I'm bringing my Jamaican patriotism over here. And when the Prime Minister doesn't wear that you don't have to comment because you're very diplomatic. When she doesn't wear that brooch, the Barbadian flag, like even tonight, and at important events, it bothers us, as people, and we For us, this is so important. This is about our country, you know. But Miss McCLEAN, before I go off track, Miss McCLEAN, any thoughts or
Miss
any
McCLEAN, I
questions?
told you already, if you call me Mrs., you gotta put by the husband. But
Okay, sorry.
I know. Like you see, let me just welcome Mr. GREENIDGE, Corey GREENIDGE. And I'm smiling because I've listened to this young man. Sorry, young. I mean, you're a young man when you consider my age, and it's pleased my heart. But so there are a couple of comments, and I want to thank you for your contribution on this show, because as I listened to some of what the Prime Minister said, I was convinced that she was pushed to come to the people by the kind of analysis that you brought to support what Mr. Thorne said in Parliament. I happen to listen to Parliament most days, and I listen to the Attorney General. And so, as you explained, that's important. Now, I say that against the background of what you were saying, the conversation and the comments about party politics. And while I would say party politics is a reality, there is significant room for voters and constituents to push for quality candidates who are in fact what I would describe as assets or pluses for their respective parties. And so with that, I welcome you as a candidate.
Thank you so much.
And Marcia will tell you that I made a pledge on this program the night we heard Mr. Thorne cross the floor. And I will make a similar pledge to you. Whatever I can do to assist you in furthering your willingness to support Barbadians, and I wouldn't say your political ambitions, because people's political ambitions may have nothing to do with the people, but your demonstrated interest in supporting the people, I would do that. Having said that, the Prime Minister made reference to two pieces of legislation, the immigration bill and the citizenship bill, I think. And I am now going to step in front of Marcia and say, I hope you will come back on this show and help us to walk through that. Because the reality is we have been subjected to very superficial discussions and debates prior to the crossing of the floor, Mr. Thorne. I made that point earlier tonight. And so for the first time, Barbadians are pushed through this program, and in more recent times with the work of Mr. Thorne and support of persons like yourself, people have started to seriously interrogate legislation. And so I trust that we will have an opportunity to engage you in relation to an examination of that legislation. The questions I might ask you, I try not to speak politics on Marcia's show, partisan politics.
We're not gonna go into that.
Yeah,
go deep in
the
that.
LP, not even the LP politics. Everybody knows where I stand, and I welcome you to the party. I like how you have sought to be objective and factual, and I think that will take you a long way within the context of all people have seen politics descend to, and it's really important that we have persons who can lift politics back to a level that it needs to be. Barbados, in another context, I have a friend who always says, we can do better. And we really can do a lot better. I am disappointed in a lot of what I see on many fronts. And it is voices like yours that I trust will take us back to a place where, as Barbadians, we can sit here in Barbados and be proud of our politicians. I had to go on a rant on this show the other night with Marcia when some young person was warned that I'm a politician. So I had to tell Marcia, through the show, tell the young person there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a politician. that there are politicians and politicians. And I predict that you will be in the category of those we are proud of. So, Marcia, let me stop. And there were no specific
Well,
questions.
yeah, well, no,
very
but you
quick.
did ask him about, the other two bills, which we are
Yeah.
very much, we've started out, we've started our research on them, but obviously we are not lawyers. So we are going to need yourself and the legal fraternity. They are up now, and I often say, Mr. Greenidge, some of these lawyers, not necessarily you, but grew up in very humble beginnings. And their parents did so much for them to send them to law school, you know and they're there, and everybody is just caught up in all that they are doing, and forget about I'm just speaking generally, doesn't it's not you, how the average man, and how some of these legislation, how it's going to affect average Barbadians. And this is my appeal, really, to lawyers. And I do know, though, that the kind of environment we are in is a bit tough. You've got to, it's not easy to push your neck out and speak truth to power. But we do need some more legal voices on these kinds of bills. So these two bills that are up for discussion, everybody's sending them in to me in my inbox, and we are going to need some help on those. So I just want to put that to you. Your thoughts on that. Your thoughts on that.
Certainly, I have not yet read those two bills, and I do have them on my list. So I will take a look, and I have been, your invitation and your hosting me on your show has been extremely gracious, and I will say I will be happy to accept an invitation to return to discuss any legislation. On the comment of lawyers, first let me say I also grew up in humble circumstances, just to make sure.
Okay.
You see, our fraternity is one that is, lawyers work very, very hard, and as do I, for that matter. And it's not always, it's some of our portfolios are quite vast, and there's a lot to do. And you find a lot of times that lawyers are often trying to keep head above water as it relates to making sure that clients are well serviced. I can tell you in my practice, in the area that I practice, I practice corporate law on the international corporate law. If a transaction has to close at 8 a.m. London time, I have to be up at 3 or 4 in the morning in Barbados time to make that transaction. So it's often times that so when you may not hear lawyers speak on these issues, it's a lot of the time it's because they simply don't have the time to dedicate. Why do I dedicate myself to it? Because I came to a juncture in terms of following politics and following the governance of this country, where I think Barbadians were being lulled into a sense that, the 30-second soundbite that, I don't want to, where things are not properly examined. So there are these kind of smoke screens and ideas and platitudes, and that's what we are going on. And I was not comfortable with that. I needed to make sure that we understand that sometimes you need to hold up the hood just to look under the bonnet and make sure that what they say is under there is actually under there. And what has been demonstrated by this bill is that when we pull up the hood, what they said was under there was not. So I do encourage, and I have had several comments. Of course, you would imagine I do have several colleagues that I speak to in the legal fraternity. I even was speaking to a colleague this evening, and that colleague had not read the bill. So it's not to say that lawyers are not being responsive to the needs. It's a lot of stuff happening all at once, and it's not always possible. I do encourage, however, sometimes what may happen is that if I'm speaking, I may get another colleague to weigh in and say, well, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And that tends to be encouraging, because contrary to popular opinion, lawyers do not know everything. Our job is not to know everything. Our job is simply to find where to find the answers. So you may approach a lawyer, and if he or she is worth their salt, if they have not read the bill, they shouldn't comment on it. Once you've done the research and done the work, sure. So you're not going to necessarily get lawyers who will comment off the cuff if they have not done the research. But there are persons out there who lend their support, and we do appreciate it.
Yeah, I have to ask you I'm thank you for sharing that, because I've always wondered, why don't we have more? And I want you, when you speak to those lawyers, I want you to let them know, okay, that the people that at this stage, based on what's happening, all of these legislations, the bills, and a lot of people are afraid, a lot of people are worried, Mr. Greenidge, and because they're reading, they don't understand what they're reading. And we need people like you. We need the lawyers at this stage. Now, I spoke with a reporter. I wouldn't say which media house, and they came out, and they had not read. They never read the bill. They didn't listen to any of the. They didn't know who you were. Nothing. They just came and didn't understand what they were sent on an assignment, and they just came. So we have a lot of people in the media as well who are not really educated on what is happening, and we need the lawyers to break down what we call the legalese. Break it down so that we can understand it. Now, I want to ask you, sir. You might not have any thoughts on it, but I'm going to ask you: do you think that the involvement of Washington in the cybercrime bill, because the citizens took the government to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and I had started doing connecting, because we have the connections, and so we started the preliminary work in getting this particular issue to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in Washington. Do you think that might have had any play on what might have happened? Ms. McCLEAN can weigh in on this as well. Do you think, we don't know, but I'm wondering, in terms of the dynamics and the decision, and quickly coming on a Sunday night, after the news, and that kind of thing, do you think it might have had any play into that decision?
Well, I am sure I will not speculate.
Yes.
But I will say this, that and again, as a point of education for your viewers, Barbados is signatory to several international treaties and international agreements, and one of them is the American Convention. And once Barbados is signatory, and again, just for education purposes, our laws permit that once you are signatory to an international agreement, that agreement then is ratified within the Parliament of Barbados by an instrument of legislation. So what that does is that puts Barbados in a position that it must fulfill the obligations that are within that international instrument. And those obligations would have had to be codified in our laws as well. So for an instance, for example, like the cybercrime bill, and certainly for this bill, because I also started to look at the Inter-American the convention to see where we may have been able to find violations of that convention. When it comes to that, the government does have a responsibility to take a look. In other words, they cannot ignore it because they have obligations under the instrument. So whether or not that prompted, I will not speculate, but I will say to the public that Barbados it's a beautiful island, but it is not an island in of itself such that it participates in the international community. And a lot of the governance, especially when it's party to these international agreements, they must have obligations under those international agreements. And there are several cases, there are a lot of case law that you can point to where the international agreement was the linchpin, was the deciding factor in either our courts or our government having to then either stand down or to take a particular position because of the obligations under the agreement.
Yes. Ms. McCLEAN, as a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, do you think, you were part of government, and if you heard that they're going to take your government to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, so the second time, do you think that that might have played, in the decision of coming so quickly? Let's do this before it gets out of hand.
I was a different kind of person, or I was in a very different kind of government. But seriously, I would say this, having had the experience of seeing, because prior to going in relation to the cybercrime bill, I don't think that anybody in the government would have expected the persons who went to have gone and done that. First thing. Second thing, if you recall, the initial reaction was almost to trivialize the decision to go. But then they saw the process play out. And so I think, having experienced that situation and the quality of representation of the interests of the people who were, the pleading of the cause or the case or whatever you want to put it, having gone through that and seen it, because, this was a group of young people for the most part. And you will recall the entire thing. So I think that the experience of having to deal with a group of people who they were initially dismissing made a serious case before the court and so on, would have prompted them to recognize that it could happen again, and that people had stated that that would have been an obvious way to go. So I think, in a sense, it had some impact on the reaction. But even before that, I think that in the face of the evidence, government had egg on its face. Simple, pure and simple. There was egg on its face. I mean, how can an attorney general who supposedly did what he was supposed to do, how could he not know what was in there? And if he knew what was in there, how can you be so wrong? I'm trying to be diplomatic. Like, I used to think I was diplomatic, but no, I think our reason, I understand and I appreciate Corey, if you don't mind me calling you that.
Most definitely, Corey's perfect.
His position and his reason is objective and so on. Nobody can accuse him of being, partisan or less than objective, subjective, or whatever the case may be. But I cannot understand. I mean, I can only interpret. Let me put it this way. And I am at the stage where, having retired now, I can, I have earned the right to say what I want to say without defaming anybody. When you reach my age, you earn that right. But I mean, I just think that in the case of the Attorney General and the Minister of Home Affairs, they did not anticipate the kind of scrutiny that was there. And so their behavior was typical of what we have been seeing in Parliament for the last several years. You gloss over this, you say a few things, you're appealing to the gallery being, you figured there are 29 of you, so you have people who frankly are not concerned about the substance. And this is where the whole notion of party politics comes in. And so I support these guys, so whatever they say, it goes. The other thing is that we also know, and this has been the case, and this is why it is important that the work be done before, that once you go to Parliament, except in something that, and in this case, they can pass anything, whether it requires a 2/3 majority, such as a constitutional change, or a simple majority, they can pass it. But I always remember being told by the Prime Minister that when we go to Parliament, there were a couple of things he said, and he always insisted on this. When we come to Cabinet and we sign off on a bill to go to Parliament, or a resolution, his expectation, and by extension the expectation of Cabinet, was that it was fit and proper. And short of maybe some minor oversight, we should not be afraid to push for it and do what we had to do. What we are seeing now, and there have been multiple instances of this, where legislation has had to be halted or whatever, or later, amendments have to come, not simply because significant changes have occurred in the environment or whatever, but it was bad drafting. And the truth is, if you talk to people, there have been instances where there's been pressure to get a bill written, and probably not adequate drafting instructions given, and so you get that. And in other words, there's been this one step forward, two step back situation, pull back situation, which frankly has not been good. It's poor governance, and that is the reality. And my concern is, with so many eyes and so many legal eyes in the current administration, in the cabinet, that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable at all. It is,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Mr. GREENIDGE, are you satisfied, having listened to the Prime Minister tonight? Are you satisfied with the amendments that are coming?
The shortest answer is I do not know, only because politicians love to speak. I will reserve my satisfaction until I see the content of the amendments. For instance, there is an amendment that has gone through the bill that is approaching the Senate now. So there have been some amendments already, and one of the amendments was to replace minister with the president. The honorable leader of the opposition, that was one of our key objections, was that the power to appoint the independent monitoring commission and all of the other responsibilities around that commission should not sit with the minister. So they went ahead, and I was reading it today. They went ahead and they simply replaced minister with president, meaning the president would appoint. Now here is where the challenge comes. The exercise of the prerogative power of the president is something that is in the Constitution, and there are different ways in which the president can exercise that power. It can be exercised by her discretion alone, can be exercised under the advice of the prime minister, with consultation with the opposition leader, and then that is an entire process that sits within the Constitution. So I'm making a point to say, making a cosmetic change to swap out a minister for a president, it doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do, because once you put the president there, you have to put in the legislation how that power is exercised, and they have not done it. So you see this kind of crab mash, we can just, you see that unimpressive. I believe governance is something that has to be done carefully, mindfully, and not just to shove something through because you have 29 seats in the House and that you think nobody's noticing. And that's where we need to start to educate Barbadian people, especially in the voting process. Make sure that the person you send to the House of Parliament represents your interests. I'll piggyback on something that Ms. McCLEAN said. The Attorney General and the Home Affairs Minister stood on the House of Parliament, and now I can use this term and lied. Last time I was here, I didn't use that term, but given the fact that the Prime Minister has now admitted that there is in fact a mechanism within the bill that allows for warrantless tapping, which means that what the Attorney General and the Home Affairs Minister said was indeed a lie. But you have, by my count, that would mean you have 27 other ministers, other cabinet members sitting behind, who are all banging the table, very happily to go along. Do you understand? So representation then becomes a problem. The question then is, are any of these representatives of the people paying any attention to the legislation that's going through the House of Parliament that affects their constituents? Do you understand the question I'm asking?
Yes.
Apart from the AG and the Home Affairs Minister misleading the Parliament and misleading the people of Barbados, you have a slew of persons sitting there and nobody's asking any questions. Nobody is spending any time. I don't know. Maybe they think it's not their responsibility. And that's where I say to the Barbadian public, representation in the House of Parliament is key, not only for the roads or the picking up of garbage, but there's some issues that will literally affect your way of life. And those are the considerations I will ask the voting public to have top of mind once they go to the polls again in a year or in 2 years.
Yes, yes. Very important. There is Dave, you had something up there from Wade Gibbons that I just wanted to read it. We don't have to make a comment. Dave, you still have it? Thank you so much. And guys, we're 2 minutes to 10. We're closing down. We didn't take questions because we just kind of needed to air this out. This is what Wade Gibbons says. Newsflash, newsflash, newsflash. We just love Wade Gibbons. He's a former news editor. Is that it, Miss McCLEAN?
A former journalist. I am not sure. Yeah, he worked with The Nation. He worked with Barbados Today.
Yeah.
And he's a former police officer, as I told you.
A former police officer. That, yes. And he's doing a mighty job. Wade Gibbons, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. He says PM Motley is the chairman of the Barbados cabinet. Legislation is scrutinized by cabinet before AG Dale Marshall brings it to the parliament for debate. The wiretapping law would have reached cabinet before Marshall presented it to the public. Last week, PM Motley's recall of this legislation now gives impression that she is Christopher Columbus. We'll say Christine Columbus. She's Christine Columbus.
Discovered the legislation.
She just discovered the legislation. Wade Gibbons, you are something else. But I want Barbadians to never forget August 8th.
It was a Friday. It was a Friday, just to be sure.
Friday, August 8th. Yeah, Friday, August 8th. I told you, put it in your phones. Write it down in a little book. Those of you who write in a notebook, don't forget it. Just like you will never forget Section 52B. And people saying it all in Bridgetown. Yeah? I want you to remember August 8th, the day when you had your elected officials stood in Parliament and lied to you. And you could prove it. That's the day you could prove it. You have proven that. Write it down. Write it down. Very important. Don't forget. Don't forget. Okay. Well, we're gonna close. It's 10 o'clock. And Miss McCLEAN, what's your final words to the Barbadian people who went out in the hot sun, those who wrote to the parliamentarians, wrote the Senate? We know what Mr. GREENIDGE has done, and Mr. Thorne. Thank you, Mr. Thorne, wherever you are, and the DLP TV. We know what they've done, but the people of this country, have done so much. And what can you say to the people tonight, Miss McCLEAN?
No, I want to say to Barbadians that their voices matter. I understand from you that persons would have written as they were as a recommendation was made to write their members of parliament, talk to the people in the Senate. But as you were speaking, I wrote down something here which ties in, and it was because I was reminded by a friend who sent me a WhatsApp message, that the session was a Friday. And if my memory serves me correct, these Friday sessions are proven to be interesting. The issue of NIS, remember, Marcia? Mm-hmm. It was last year, before it was I think, if I remember correctly, it was a Friday session because Parliament would have been meeting on Monday and Tuesday, and it would have gone to Parliament the Wednesday. To the Senate on the Wednesday, and would have been passed were it not for an intervention by this program and subsequently on the call-in program. But I think basically what it says, the purpose of Parliament is to pass legislation in the interests of the public, and we have a right to scrutinize it and to comment. But I would say that those persons elected by Barbadians also have a responsibility to do their jobs properly. And at the end of the day not have situations like this, because I really wonder how many people took the time to pay attention to this. And I asked the question, what processes are followed before a bill or a resolution hits the floor of Parliament for debate? But we
Yes.
have to be vigilant, and certainly I will continue to do so, and to be vigilant, because it is absolutely necessary.
Yes.
We make sure what is done there is in our best interest.
Yes.
And that for me is my...
Yes, thank you, Ms. McCLEAN. Mr. GREENIDGE, 280,000 Barbadians, we call them the loyal opposition. And we were doing this before there was anybody in Parliament. And, you know, a section of them came out on Saturday, walked in the hot sun, including Ms. McCLEAN. And lots of pensioners were out there. People brought part of their pension, Mr. GREENIDGE, to pay. They bring that, they do. And when I don't want to take it, they said, listen, this is, you have to take this. Yes, they come and we provide a van for them, you know, those who can't walk. One pensioner, she told me she fell and hit her hip, but she had to be there. She had a stick and we had a van for her. And for the others, and this is very serious for people there. Those are not young people out there. These are people who are afraid of what Barbados, it seems that Barbados is going to become. Can you speak to those people before we close tonight, Mr. GREENIDGE?
Certainly. I'm very proud to be a Barbadian. As I watch on your screen to see Barbadians, obviously of all walks of life, the elderly, young people marching for something that is important to them. I'm proud of them, very, very proud of them. And I will say to the Barbadians, don't let this be just your first, or don't let it stop here. Go to the ballot box and vote. Go to your constituency offices and demand accountability. Tonight, out of the words of the Honorable Prime Minister, this is a victory for the people. When she spoke and she conceded that in fact what we were saying all along was in fact true. And that is a victory for all those persons that are marching there, and a victory for all the persons who watch your show, and a victory for all Barbadians across this land. So I end the way I started. I congratulate your show, Miss Weeks. I congratulate your efforts. Just to let you know that when I know you are Jamaican, but when a old Barbadian with that folded fist and $5 stick money in your hand, you take that and you stick that in your pocket, huh? Yeah. That is part of our culture. You don't refuse that. You understand what I'm saying? So just
I realize that it's offensive.
Yes, no. You might have been here for a while, but let me just give you that advice. With that folded fist, and they slip it, and you just take that and you put that in your pocket. And
that's exactly, Corey, how they come to me.
Yes.
They come and it's folded up.
It's a form of appreciation, and that's a private appreciation. So they're telling you something that's in their soul. They're telling you something you would have done would have reached their inner emotions, and that is an outward demonstration of that. It's not an insult. It's not even to say that you need it. It's to say, here, I need to put this in your hand as appreciation. And that's just our Barbadian way. So very, very, very proud of our people today, and that democracy is very much alive in Barbados.
Yes, this is what democracy looks like. That's something you said tonight. And this is the pride of nationhood. And with that, we close tonight. I want to thank everybody for joining. We're going to be back on tomorrow night with Dr. Ferdinand Nichols, and Mr. GLYNE Murray is going to be on tomorrow. We had announced that he would be on, but he really wanted to listen and then comment. So he's going to be on tomorrow night along with Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. Hopefully Miss Rose Carbin can join him as well. So thank you all very, very much. Dave Weeks, thank you. Did a great job as usual. Thanks to everybody. God bless you all. God bless you all. Have a good night. Thank you.
Hey! Give me something. I work hard every election. I go knocking from door to door. My loyalty could never be questioned. You've always enjoyed my support. 7 years of patiently waiting while others parading. Can't believe what I'm seeing. I watch them get through. It's like you're always forgetting. When I sacrificing, there got to be something that you could get me to do. Market finger in Washington, D.C. I too could practice diplomacy. I begging, please, me, I don't forget me. How Sinclair get a job overseas. He ain't even in the party. I begging, please, me, I don't forget me. You bring back Farley and you send up GLYNE. If he don't work now, what could be mine? I begging, please, me, I don't forget me. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. Me, I don't forget me. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. Listen carefully. Me, I don't forget me. Give me something, a little something. We appreciate your representation as you fly high all over the world. From climate change to fighting for reparation. You inspire little boys and girls, but my car suspension needs fixing. The bad roads need paving. When my water is running, things are getting brown. Food prices keep rising, and my MP gone missing. I don't know where else to turn, so I'm coming to you. I don't want no coffee and biscuits. We done with that kind of politics. Listen carefully, me, I don't forget me. When I promise me house and land, but 6 acres back with the Africans. Listen carefully.